KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. A Utah reality TV star has had a restraining order filed against them by an ex-boyfriend and will appear in court today. Secret Lives of Mormon Wives star Taylor Frankie Paul and her ex-boyfriend Dakota Mortensen have both accused each other of domestic violence. While police have been investigating, Mortensen has filed a restraining order against Paul. It was last month The Bachelorette was slated to air starring Paul when a video published by TMZ showed a 2023 fight between the couple where she threw several things, including metal chairs at him, forcing ABC to yank the show.
Leave me alone. Oh my God.
Paul had pled guilty to aggravated assault in that same year. A Tooele man is now facing criminal charges after prosecutors accused him of trying to kill his own brother.
41-year-old Derek Brian Jones is now facing an attempted murder charge after prosecutors say he stabbed his brother in the chest during an argument on Friday. His brother survived but was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. Arrest documents obtained by KSL say the brother actually called 911 where he told dispatchers he was stabbed by his intoxicated brother. And this isn't Jones's first run-in with the law. Documents say Jones has been in several verbal confrontations with his neighbors, including one instance where he allegedly confronted a neighbor with a pickaxe. Court records also show he's been convicted of assault or aggravated assault several times dating back to 2007. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
Your money at this moment, the Dow down 349 points to 46,320. Coming up, we've got a crash in Utah County causing delays. Actually, both directions of the freeway are slow in the north end of Orem. Traffic and weather together is next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
What are you doing every day to support your liver? If you enjoy sweets, fast food, alcohol, or take any medications, that's a vital question to ask. Hi, I'm Sherry Torkas, pharmacist and health author. For over 30 years, I've helped people make informed decisions about their health, especially concerning prevention and long-term wellness. Supporting your liver isn't just a wellness trend, it's a daily essential. That's why I recommend Active Liver by New Nordic. It's made with plant-based ingredients like milk thistle, turmeric, and globe artichoke, herbs clinically studied for their protective and restorative effects on the liver. Active Liver blends traditional herbal wisdom with modern scientific research. Not all supplements are created equal. I trust Active Liver because it's backed by science, meets strict quality standards, and delivers true daily liver support.
Active Liver is available online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com. Or you can find it in stores at CVS, Meijer Grocery, Wegmans, and now Active Liver is available at your local GNC.
I'm Christian Staples with Arctic Spas. Spring is here, and that means pool time is here. No one makes it easier to have a pool in your backyard than Arctic Spas. We just need 2 days, and you can swim for exercise or enjoy family fun. Arctic Spa's all-weather pools continue to be fun all year round versus a regular pool which you can only use during the summer. We make it easy with maintenance-free filters, automatic natural salt water, and automatic pH control. No one wants to spend their time taking care of their pool. We just want to enjoy it, and that is what Water Care Automation is all about. If you're looking for a pool that is easy to install, easy to maintain, easy on the wallet, and you can use it year-round, look no further than Arctic Spa's all-weather pools. For more information, check us out at ArcticSpasUtah.com or one of our 3 stores covering all of Utah in Salt Lake, American Fork, and St. George. Arctic Spa, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security, Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at uccu.com. Let's go back to Cormac Bone.
We do still have some scattered delays on I-15 in Utah or in Salt Lake County. Just a little slow on southbound I-15 approaching 90th South in Midvale, and northbound I-15 at 3300 South and just after the I-80-201 interchange. But otherwise looking pretty good in Salt Lake County. In Utah County, though, I-15 delays are due to crashes southbound around Pleasant Grove Boulevard. Those are residual. The crash there has cleared off the road, but we do still have a crash on northbound I-15 at 1600 North, blocking the very beginning of that on-ramp there on the right shoulder, causing some heavier delays at the north end of Orem. And we do still have delays eastbound I-80 going from Kimball Junction to the US 40 interchange due to that right shoulder as people try and transition to US 40. Spring has blossomed in Box Elder County. History, recreation, and wildlife, and excellent dining and shopping await you. Learn more at visitboxeldercounty.com. Produced in cooperation with the Utah Office of Tourism. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather for today. Temperatures staying in the mid-70s until Sunday when it dips into the low 60s, and then we get a chance of rain Sunday into Monday. Right now, though, 52 degrees on a way to a high of 74. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio. War in Iran.
Well, all eyes are on Iran today as the president doubles down on threats in order to come to deal with his deadline, which is 8 p.m. tonight, or else U.S. military, he claims, will escalate even further. Here's more from a social media post that he posted.
Strong words and a very alarming threat from the president in this social media post this morning. He says a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. The president goes on to say, I don't want that to happen, but it probably will.
That was ABC's Karen Travers.
I don't even understand, even if he is extending his threats, and he has extended the deadline, I think, 4 times, to say that an entire civilization is going to be destroyed is really, really concerning to me. He's also said, of course, that the U.S. would hit bridges, power plants, other civilian infrastructure. And I really wanted to talk to an expert, and so we're lucky to have on the line again with us Dr. Austin Neppe. He's assistant professor at Utah State University and director of the Harvey Peace Institute. Thanks for joining us again, Dr. Neppe.
Thanks for having me back. It's great to be here.
Can you tell us just what is this saying on the world stage right now when the president of the United States saying we're going to destroy an entire civilization?
Yeah, it's a humiliation, and it's, as you correctly pointed out, a threat, whether credible or not, to commit massive war crimes. Attacks on civilian infrastructure, water, power, etc., and cultural sites are prohibited per the Geneva Conventions and the International Law of Armed Conflict. And moreover, it doesn't seem to me, even if you accept that war is grisly and a dim affair, I don't see how that threat's going to be effective at persuading the Iranians to accept a deal to open the strait, let alone to begin a peace settlement.
Dr. Neppe, on this show yesterday, we saw a report posted by, I think, over 100 lawyers who do international law who indicated that there have already been a large number of war crimes committed here, which, of course, makes a lot of people think, you know, what deterrence does the president have, having done the history of the last 6 weeks of seemingly committed some war crimes?
Yeah, right. So one of the fundamental challenges of U.S.-Iran, is there's a large asymmetry or imbalance. On the one hand, the United States has massive military power, could actually destroy quite a bit of civilian infrastructure and kill a lot of people. On the other, the Iranian regime is facing a war for their very survival. So their commitment, or what we say resolve, is a lot stronger than the United States. United States could end the war today. It may be a little bit of a humiliation for the administration, but it's not going to affect the everyday lives of American people. And so in order to reach a negotiated settlement, you can't simply threaten to the Iranians are in a position, rather, where they can accept a lot more punishment or pain from the United States because the stakes are existential. So ramping up military attacks is not how you're going to get to your military objectives, let alone the political objectives, right?
So, Dr. Nuppy, I have to ask this question. And I've seen even Vice President J.D. Vance, who's in Europe right now, he's certainly saying outright that the president has things that only the president can do. I take that to mean he is intimating that the president might decide to use a nuclear weapon. I've got friends, including my co-host, who say, I don't think that's likely or possible, but is this, like, are nukes on the table?
I have no idea. They're not off the table. I think the ability that we would escalate from conventional to nuclear warfare is probably 1% or less, but the fact that we even have to raise that question is extremely alarming. And I would encourage the Vice President and his staff to think seriously about their role under the 25th Amendment and how they coordinate with Congress to get a war powers vote to limit the power of the executive.
Does it seem, Professor, as though there are any, countries or individuals or agencies that are likely to intervene and mediate or bring an end to this? Because it seems like the Israelis are not they're doubling down, if anything. Trump seems to be doubling down, and the Iranians seem to be locked in pretty well. I mean, I know this is maybe more of a rhetorical question than anything else, but who can step in here? Who would be a likely party to step in here and mediate this, if anyone?
Yeah, so traditionally that's been the role of Qatar and Oman. The problem now is that those are tiny Gulf nations in the middle of the war. They're sitting between the Saudis, Americans, and Israelis on the one hand, and across the Gulf, Iran. So they're in a really difficult position to be able to mediate the dispute. In the last several weeks, Pakistan has played an increasing role in that because the Pakistanis have a solid diplomatic relationship with the United States as well as Iran. They have limited influence, however, and so there's increasing talks about the Chinese trying to come in and mediate. It's not really clear to me if I was in Beijing if I would be advising Xi to get involved. I think there's a lot more self-interest on the part of China to sit out and kind of observe and see what happens. Unless, of course, the Chinese want more international legitimacy and want to be seen as the heir apparent to the international order. That, the Americans are acting recklessly and irresponsibly. It's our turn to come in and play the role of the hegemon or the dominant state in the system. That could be a potential outcome as well.
Maybe it's more than one question, but you mentioned the 25th Amendment, and so my understanding of the way that would work to even remove the president from office is you would need the vice president, who's not even in the country, to call the cabinet together. I'm seeing even former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene calling for the 25th Amendment to be invoked, and Alex Jones, of all people, to say we've got to do something to stop this. What are your observations on the chances of something like that succeeding?
I think it's quite low. I'm not a constitutional lawyer, so I can't speak about the specific mechanism and process by which the 25th Amendment is invoked. So I can't speak on that. I think there is an increasingly small number of people that are loyal to Trump, and they're revising their views about the war based on the president's actions. It includes the rescue of the pilot the other day that, isn't this great? The Trump administration used special operators to rescue this pilot. It was a valiant attempt. And it's like, that could be true. It doesn't also raise the question of why the pilot was there in the first place and whether that's in the national interest to raise the war in that fashion. That question doesn't appear to be on the minds of the most hardcore supporters of the current administration. At the same time, you only need probably 2 or 3 members of the House and a senator or two to really tip that balance. But it's going to have to take the vice president's going to have to take the lead on that, and whether or not he can build a coalition and support is the ultimate question. He's also balancing, of course, his own political ambitions in 2028. But now is the time for courage among statesmen and stateswomen to act in the defense of the republic, regardless if they have a D or an R after their name.
All right. Thank you so much for that. That was Dr. Asta Nepi, Assistant Professor at Utah State University and Director of the Harvey Peace Institute. We need a little more of that.
Right.
When we come back, we're going to be talking with the president of the University of Utah, Taylor Randall, about an executive order to, quote, save college sports. Stay with us.
Doug Wright here with Monty at Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake, an authorized independent dealer. Monty, give it to me straight. Why is Connecticut the premium choice over those standard electric softeners?
Doug, it comes down to this. Do you want an appliance you have to babysit? Standard water softeners have microprocessors and computers that need setting and adjustment, and they use a lot more salt. So you get to haul 40-pound bags of salt down to your basement every month or so.
And Connecticut?
Zero electricity, zero timers to reset, zero downtime, and uses 70% less salt. It's a higher standard of engineering that completely removes the hassle of owning a water softener.
That's what I love about my Connecticut. Dee and I never have to even think about it. We occasionally add a bag of salt and it just works, and I've never had to set or adjust anything. Do what I did and get the one that just works. Find out how soft your water could be at softwaterutah.com. That's softwaterutah.com.
Not sure how to tackle your taxes? Are you sweating the small print? You may be experiencing FOMO, the fear of messing up. The answer? Using TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it, with a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. It's time to take your taxes to the max. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Pump up the volume.
Business moves fast. Orders roll in, deadlines close in. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Every package stays in our secure network from dock to door. And with nationwide reach, dependable tracking, and upfront affordable pricing, you get built-in peace of mind. You run the business. We run the routes. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
Now streaming on Angel, The Parables of Jesus, the Good Samaritan, is a powerful cinematic retelling of Christ's parable set in a fractured first-century world simmering with turmoil, suspicion, and quiet hostility. Told through intimate performances and moments charged with moral tension, The Good Samaritan draws viewers into the weight of each choice and the cost of Christ-like love. It leaves us with the Savior's enduring question that confronts every generation. Who is my neighbor? Experience The Good Samaritan today with your family. Now streaming on Angel.com.
Does your home have peeling paint or faded colors? Don't procrastinate. You need to protect your home with quality paint and a worry-free process, so make an appointment with CertaPro Painters. You quickly get a free estimate that's detailed, easy to understand, and then their trusted local professionals will bring fresh color to your home with quality craftsmanship at the right price. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated, so schedule your free estimate at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. CertaPro.com.
Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a gripping new 9-part investigative podcast about a serial killer you've probably never heard of, Warren Forrest, a sadistic predator who prowled the Pacific Northwest in the early 70s. He hid behind the deeds of Ted Bundy, and he's only been convicted of 2 murders, but is suspected of many more. Since the release of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a witness identified in the podcast could lead investigators to the remains of Jamie Grissom.
He ran into the woods. He said he stumbled. As he fell down, he looks up and sees the body of a young woman.
And now the FBI is testing forensic evidence that had been collecting dust for decades. This cold case is now red hot. Binge the entire season of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley right now, wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the latest breaking news.
Thinking about retirement? Make sure a My Social Security account is a part of your plan. A My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal earnings history and benefit status. You can find out if you're eligible to receive benefits, compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates, view spousal benefit estimates, and more. Plan for your future. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
I have a friend, Holly, who played football for the University of Utah, and he is very afraid of what's happening with college sports right now, especially with the name, image, and likeness, money that's being spent around the country on some big programs, and the future of college sports. So I was interested in the executive order that the president issued recently to save college sports and what that means and whether that, in fact, exacerbates what my friend is talking about. Hoping we can get a little more information about that now.
Well, me too, because it is a little confusing to me when I hear that college freshmen are making $5 million, for example.
Right.
So this order focuses on ending pay-for-play practices. And we have with us University of Utah President Taylor Randall to help break it down. Thanks for joining us, President Randall.
Good morning to both of you. Thanks for having me on the show.
Good morning. So can you just tell us broadly, what does this executive order do?
Sure. As you know, university sports are important to all of our communities. It brings us together in so many ways. It develops leaders in our students. And the president had a group of individuals come together based on a common belief that we wanted to preserve what is good and great about college sports. And so he has issued an executive order to try to bring some, I would say, sense of regulation, some basic ground rules so that we can actually maintain an incredible college athletic system.
So as I understand the current concern, President Randall, and I may be wrong, and I'm sort of just quoting from my friend who's like just obsessed about this, that finances and money in college athletics, especially with some of the bigger schools, SEC schools, has caused it to the point where it's almost like a minor league for the professional organization, and that's what I think we're trying to avoid. And maybe I'm way off base, but is that part of the concern here?
No, I think that is a part of the concern, that escalating costs, particularly as we try to compensate athletes for what they do for our universities, really has very few guidelines. And one of the important parts of the president's executive order is actually some of the suggestions around eligibility and how many transfers. If we can have some guidelines around those two basic things, I think you'll see some semblance of regularity come to the process. You'll be able to see athletes that'll stay in our universities longer. At the end of the day, we don't want to be minor league teams. We actually want to be universities that educate students, but also preserve the sense of community and excitement that athletics brings to each of our states.
So what would you like this to look like, President? Tell us what the nuts and bolts of it would be in a lot of the college presidents' concerns. And you know, if you're looking down the road, what would you like the landscape to look like for college athletes?
I think where most of the presidents are is we want an environment where we can continue to develop young people, get them educated. We want to also preserve the breadth of sports, so that includes women's sports and Olympic sports generally. We recognize that at this point there will be payment of athletes, but we need some structure so that we can actually maintain those first two things that I mentioned.
So, President Randall, is this a step forward for universities?
We hope it will be. I will say that individuals in the room in that gathering that the president convened all share a common vision for preserving college sports. What we are hoping is that the momentum and the conversations will propel some congressional action that will give us the ability to enforce rules around payment to athletes, transfer, and what we can do in terms of providing educational services to those individuals.
And what do you think that the consensus of college presidents throughout the country is? Do you think that there is a consensus that this is something that has to be done at some point?
Yeah, I think if you look at some of the just real basic issues, there is broad consensus among presidents. As you stray from those basic issues, there are certainly differences of opinion, but I think all of us want to be educators first. All of us want to preserve the broad participation of students in college athletics. All of us love the engagement that college athletics provides to fans.
So, President Randall, as I understand it, this executive order also threatens federal funding if there's unfair sports recruitment practices. I'm not familiar enough with collegiate sports to be able to say what that would look like. Could you help us understand what that is?
So, I think that's one of the specific items that he calls out that will need to be fleshed out a bit. What all of us would like is an enforcement mechanism around basic ground rules. And that enforcement mechanism will ensure that that athletes are treated fairly, that universities are treated fairly. And so I think that is the general idea behind that part of the order.
And then what does it look like in terms of the balance of power? I mean, just this year, Kyle Whittingham resigned and he retired, but then he went and signed what seems like a fairly big contract at Michigan, I believe. And it makes people think that the University of Utah, although it's a big school and it's doing incredibly well, just can't compete with the Michigans and the Alabamas and the Ohio States. And is this executive order, something that could potentially just sort of keep the balance of power the way it's been for the last 30, 40 years?
I think I would frame it in a little bit different way, and that is if you look to many of our professional sports leagues, while we don't want to be professional, what they do have are a set of rules that allow for fair competition across a broad number of teams. And some of those basic regulations that you see in the president's orders will allow for that.
President, we actually have a question from a texter, and I certainly don't have the answer. They want to know if, especially regarding NIL, if the universities have, enough money to pay current athletes. Are you able to go back and pay off former athletes' student loan debts? pre NIL.
If you look at the settlement, there are payments that will go back, and this is the settlement that came out last summer. There are some payments that will go back. That was a settlement that was done with the entire NCAA, and most of what we're looking at right now is forward looking.
We're running out of time here fairly soon, President, but is the University of Utah's athletic program in good standing right now? Not good standing, but is it solid right now in terms of finances and its future, do you think?
Well, we're excited about the future. As you know, we announced a new partnership and a new organization called Utah Brand Initiatives that we think will position us in a very healthy way for the future of college athletics, and that includes the economics that we're discussing here today.
All right. That was University of Utah President Taylor Randall joining us. And Holly, this is something, I guess, that I hear about from people who are involved in athletes at colleges and universities. And we have, even the conferences have shrunk. The Pac-12, which we were a part of, which was the Conference of Champions. It doesn't even exist anymore. And we're kind of down to 3 big conferences now. And ours, the Big 12, is maybe the weak link of those 3, because you got the Big Ten and you got the SEC, and I think people are afraid that really we're just going to have a tier. Those big schools will
absolutely
be, and then the Utah States and other smaller schools are going to be left out. So I do think this makes a lot of sense, and I appreciate President Randall's concern. I think he was trying to be fair to both sides and try to keep a balance here. But I think there's a real fear right now that college athletics could be in trouble, and that it's really just going to be a minor league. We're just going to have minor league football.
I absolutely think that's what it is right now.
College football, right? Yeah.
Where the recruitment is and the payments that these student athletes get. It's for me. It certainly looks like it's minor leagues.
Right, and it's it starts with football. that's the big ticket item, and we saw recently that with the March Madness that basketball is in second place. But then you have all the smaller. And University of Utah has an incredible gymnastics team, one of the best in the country.
Right.
Our ski team just won the national championship, but those aren't big revenue sports. So,
right.
Yeah, I hope this works out, and maybe a good idea from the administration. What else has worked out really well is the Artemis 2 rocket that took off almost a week ago now, circled the Earth a couple times, and yesterday went around the moon and became the furthest place. It took human beings further than they've ever been from the country or from the planet.
That's
what
right.
am I thinking? When we come back, we'll talk about more, and I'll get back on Earth. Stay with us.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. It's our top national story. The Artemis II crew now back in their way to Earth after traveling deeper into space than any other humans. Here's ABC's Sophie Flay.
The Artemis II crew is heading back towards Earth after their historic trip around the far side of the moon, going deeper into space than anyone ever before.
Integrity crew on April 15th, 1970, during the Apollo 13 mission. 3 explorers set the record for the farthest distance humans have ever traveled from our home planet. Today, for all humanity, you're pushing beyond that frontier.
For several hours, the crew took turns observing features on the moon never seen by human eyes.
President Trump called the astronauts to congratulate them.
There's nothing like what you're doing, circling around the moon for the first time in more than a half a century and breaking the all-time record for the farthest distance from planet Earth.
The Artemis crew should touch down on April 10th. The Utah Grizzlies will play their last game this week. The team's been here for 30 years. After Sunday, though, they will head to New Jersey, where they'll become the Trenton Ironhawks. The team's owner, David Elmore, died in 2023, leaving the family to decide it was time to pass the reins to someone else. Saturday will be Fan Appreciation Night, where the team will celebrate the Grizzlies' legacy. Your money at this moment, the Dow down 372 points this morning to 46,296. Coming up, we got a wet weekend ahead after some dry temperatures. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 9:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
I'm Congressman Mike Kennedy. For years, Utah families have paid too much for health care, groceries, and everyday essentials. I'm fighting for health care reform that puts patients first and lowers costs. I'm also working to cut waste, fraud, and abuse in Washington because your tax dollars should be spent wisely. Fiscal responsibility means lower costs and a government that works for you. I'm Mike Kennedy, and I'll keep fighting for Utah families. Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
Bad driving habits are hard to break, but good driving habits are easy to form, especially when they can lead to a discount on your auto insurance. With Farm Bureau Financial Services, the safer you drive, the more you save. Drivers like you are saving an average of $321 per vehicle. So buckle up, learn more, and find an agent at fbfs.com/save. Individual savings results may vary. Farm Bureau Property and Casualty Insurance Company, Western Agricultural Insurance Company.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our clients' portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more, and then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
More outside, less online. That's what growing up should feel like. Time with friends, after school, family dinners, real conversations. Truly is the kid-safe phone designed to protect that because kids need a phone to stay connected. But most phones open the door to things parents never intended. Truly is different, built to grow with your child, so you can add features when they're ready and when you're ready, so they stay connected to what matters without getting pulled into what doesn't. With smart safeguards like approved contacts, message filtering, and parent insights, you can guide their digital life with confidence because the phone should support their life, not take it over. Plans start at $24.95 a month. No contracts, with live customer support right here in Utah. Visit Troomi.com. That's TROOMI.com. Troomi, protect childhood.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big with construction loans at UCCU. Here's Cormac Bone.
Despite a crash that we have on northbound I-15 in Orem, just at 1600 North, blocking that right lane, there's no delays there. Where we do have heavier delays, though, is southbound I-15 in Salt Lake City. It starts just after 600 North and reaches down past 13th South. Looking through the cams, I couldn't find a crash, but the delays make it look like there is a crash. Lanes are coming to a stop, so it's some slight stop-and-go traffic through there. Otherwise, roadways looking really good all across the Wasatch Front. Thirsty for better water? Culligan has you covered, from softeners and filtration to bottle-free coolers and bottled water delivery. Trusted local experts make water taste amazing. Visit CulliganSLC.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather temperature is going to go float around the mid to low 70s. A light chance of rain starting on Thursday, but really more likely on Sunday and Monday. Right now, though, it is mostly sunny and 54 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Fly me to the moon, let me play.
Well, Greg, the Artemis II crew is on their way home.
They flew around the moon yesterday.
Yes, they did. And after 40 minutes of radio silence, remember, on the dark side of the moon, they completed their orbit. And we have more from ABC's Sophie Flay.
The Artemis II crew is heading back towards Earth after their historic trip around the far side of the moon, going deeper into space than anyone ever before.
Integrity crew. On April 15, 1970, during the Apollo 13 mission, 3 explorers set the record for the farthest distance humans have ever traveled from our home planet. Today, for all humanity, you're pushing beyond that frontier.
For several hours, the crew took turns observing features on the moon never seen by human eyes.
And they were even out of radio contact for some period of time when they went on the backside of the moon. ABC's Jim Ryan tells us a little bit more about what the images that Artemis II captured.
Far from a dry, dead environment, the moon, as seen by Orion, is dynamic and ever-changing, a blend of subtle colors and textures. During their time in the darkness, the astronauts saw and photographed 6 bright flashes on the lunar surface, meteoroids impacting the face of the moon, creating new pockmarks and craters.
It's really incredible. And look, just listening to Sophie Flay on the first one with that little sound clip about how they had traveled farther than an earlier Apollo mission just gave me chills, because it really is incredible. And, you know, I have to say this. I have family members who think we've never traveled to the moon and this is all a fake.
Well,
I am not one of those people. Not one of those people. So, the pictures, too, that they're taking, just really stunning. There's one that they call it Earth Set, because it looks like instead of the sunset, right, the Earth is going down below the horizon. So we have with us on the line Mike Dubusky. He's ABC News technology reporter. And I just have some technology questions. So thanks for joining us, Mike.
Yeah, of course, guys.
So one of my first questions is, what fancy technology do they have in their cameras? Let's just start there. Well, what kind of fancy cameras do they have?
So you might be surprised to learn that their cameras are kind of familiar. For one of the first times on a NASA mission, the astronauts were given iPhones to take up into space. Yes, iPhone 17 Pros to be specific. So you may have seen that image floating around of the astronaut Christina Koch looking out the window at Earth. This was kind of last week as they were departing from our atmosphere. And her hair is kind of floating around in space. It's a really cool image. It was taken with the front camera on an iPhone 17 Pro. Now, worth mentioning, these iPhones are not able to connect to the internet. They can't connect to Bluetooth. That was specific to NASA. They're basically just being used as cameras, which really is a testament to how good cameras are, or have gotten rather, on the iPhone. They're also using GoPros, another brand you might be familiar with. Those are mounted to the outside of the Orion space capsule around the solar array. Those are what are powering the live stream that a lot of us have been watching that NASA has put up over the last week on approach to the moon, now coming back towards Earth. So you might be surprised. It's, cutting edge technology, but it is also familiar technology, and maybe no surprise, because a lot of the, know-how that these astronauts have is complex, right? They have to understand these sort of systems to get the capsule out there, to negotiate different technologies on the ship itself. When it comes to taking pictures, you kind of want something that just works, right? That you're familiar with. The iPhone is really familiar, and so are GoPro cameras. So, that's, I think, a big part of the motivating factor for putting them on this mission.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Mike, it's been over 50 years since we were on the moon, but we had a significant amount of technology at that time, too, to get a man on the moon, land on the moon, bring him back off, and bring him home. But the technology is significantly different. How is it? I mean, I suppose you could be an hour answer to this question, but how is it different today than it was then?
Well, for one, it's a lot more advanced. We're listening in on this live stream, where Houston, Mission Control, is talking to the astronauts on the ship. And yeah, there's a couple seconds of delay there when they're communicating with one another. And there was a brief period of time last night as the mission was going around the back of the moon where they did lose contact as expected for a few minutes, maybe 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes or something like that. That is a pretty amazing thing, right? Being able to send these sort of audio transmissions back and forth in space. So, it has gotten a lot clearer. It's gotten a lot faster over time. In addition to that, a lot of this is picture taking, right? They're taking pictures out the window of the Orion space capsule. In fact, when they were at their closest looking out the window of the Orion, the moon was about the size of a basketball, just to give you kind of a sense of exactly what they were looking at there. Those images are now being sent back to NASA through a downlink. So we're getting these really high-res images of the moon, things that we haven't really seen before from these moon missions. And that, I think, is also a really big improvement. It was going to help us kind of more broadly understand our kind of closest planetary neighbor, right? Like these really clear images are going to, go some way to helping us on that next Artemis mission, which of course NASA has planned for 2028 to actually send people to the surface of the moon.
So, Mike, I want to ask, I know that they're communicating with people here on Earth, and Christina Koch mentioned before she went up that she wasn't going to have the same kind of access to her husband being able to contact her, and that he was going to have to find stuff around the house by himself. What kind of access do they actually have? Is it internet? Is it email? What do they have up there?
So they have a localized network on the Orion. It is pretty limited because you obviously want to preserve some bandwidth for that crucial communication with Mission Control, also crucial systems on the ship itself. So again, those iPhones can't connect to the internet. They can't, do Bluetooth or anything like that. There's no doom scrolling going on the Artemis 2 mission. They do have email, though, and Microsoft Outlook specifically is the email program that they're using. Although it's worth mentioning, guys, it didn't always work properly. This is from last Thursday. The mission commander, Reed Weissman, was heard on this live stream having issues loading up his email. Here's what that sounded like.
And then I also see that I have 2 Microsoft Outlooks, and neither one of those are working. If you want to remote in and check Optimus on those 2 Outlooks, that would be awesome.
2 Microsoft Outlooks. We know that Microsoft does put 2 versions of Outlook into the Office suite of software, a classic version and then a new version, but seems like neither of those were working. The mission's flight commander here on Earth said they'd fixed the issue by taking control of the device, kind of like how an IT person in your office can remotely control your computer. They were able to do that, but thousands of miles away in space on his personal computing device, his PCD, as it is known. A note about those PCDs, which is pretty interesting. They are Microsoft Surface devices, kind of old ones, too. They're from a few years ago. The reason for that is because they've already been approved for space travel, right? NASA has to go through this very long, very laborious, occasionally very expensive approvals process for every piece of technology that goes on these missions. And that means that, in an attempt to, save on some costs, maybe cut down on some of the delays that the Artemis 2 mission had seen. They are using this kind of older technology, which is already approved. Maybe a piece of consumer advice for us here on Earth: just because something is old doesn't necessarily mean it is bad. It works just fine for them up there. One more piece of technology that did not work properly is the toilet, guys. The universal waste management system. Yeah. And it seems like there were several issues with it kind of late last week, and then yesterday into today there were some issues with the toilet. Kind of unclear exactly what the specific issues were. Sometimes it needed some extra water. Sometimes there was like a freezing issue with one of the tanks. They actually had to rotate the Orion to get it more in the sun so that it could like kind of alleviate that problem. But they were eventually able to fix it, and here's what that sounded like.
And Integrity Houston, breaking news. We have results on the discussions down here for the tank venting, and at this time, you are go for all types of uses of the toilet.
That's
and
awesome.
the crew rejoices. Thank you.
For sure.
So, astronauts, they're just like us.
All right. Thanks. So that was Mike Dubusky, ABC News technology reporter. And look, I wanted to play this one last soundbite because the commander of the crew is Reed Wiseman. He's a single dad. His wife died in 2020. And there is this really emotional moment from yesterday.
The day was also marked by somber moments. The team embracing after they suggested naming a crater on the moon for Wiseman's wife, Carol, who died of cancer.
It's a bright spot on the moon. And we would like to call it Carol.
Mission specialist Christina Cook noted the moon looked very different up close, observing shades of brown and blue instead of the familiar gray.
So that was just really emotional to listen to, and they all were crying. When we come back, we're going to talk Kratom. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. When the IRS invades your life, it's never good news. Keep in mind, it's not just you.
I owed roughly $34,000.
$61,000. When the IRS first contacted me, I was horrified.
When they start hounding you and harassing you and assaulting you.
Don't face the IRS alone. With everything in your life at stake, don't trust just anyone.
From what I got told was being done in a matter of 2 years, he had done in a matter of like 48 hours.
It's a great thing to have the IRS off your back.
We have reduced our tax liability by over $42,000.
Once I signed on with Jordan, I never talked to the IRS again.
It changed our lives.
You need someone to fight for you. Visit endtaxworry.com and get relief today. Let's solve your tax problems now. Visit endtaxworry.com. That's endtaxworry.com.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
An emergency can happen any second. Here's a few seconds to think about where you'd go. When you need medical care fast, the closest emergency room is a smart thing to know. Common Spirit Health ERs are your direct path between feeling scared or uncomfortable and feeling better. Find emergency care in your neighborhood at mountain.commonspirit.org.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
This is the story of the one. As a procurement manager for a hospital system, she keeps every facility in her network stocked and ready. That's why she counts on Grainger to be her single source for thousands of products, from disinfectants to lighting, air filters, and more. And with fast, dependable delivery, Grainger helps her keep every facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
It was opening night at Hale Center Theater for The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Victor Hugo's classic tale. I was with my son, Ian, and it was nothing short of spectacular. The staging, the costuming, the music, it's simply breathtaking. And, of course, the actors and the voices. You have to see The Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's on the main stage right now at Hale Center Theater. So many of the scenes are never to be forgotten. For example, when Frollo is just struggling with his passion for Esmeralda and his soul, the flames and the tension on the stage is unbelievable. And to see the Hunchback up in the tower with the bells, don't miss Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's underway right now at Hale Center Theater. And continuing, Peter Pan Goes Wrong, that's on the Jewel Box stage, and Hallmarked on the Beehive stage. Get your tickets now, hct.org. Don't miss the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
The new Inside Sources.
Well, it's called gas station heroin, but the Utah legislature just banned almost all sales of kratom in their last legislative session. But now the makers of that are suing because they claim they're going to lose as much as $10 million, Holly.
Yeah, so losing big bucks, right, would maybe make some people unhappy, and it seems like that's the case. It's an Oklahoma-based supplement maker called Botanic Tonics. They use kratom in their products, and now they're suing. So one of the, in fact, I would say the expert on kratom in the state is Senator Mike McKell. He was the lawmaker behind this ban. Thanks for joining us, Senator McKell.
Thank you for having me on, Holly. And it's a great day out there, but it's good to be on for spring break with you guys.
Thanks. So as the expert of kratom in the state of Utah, tell us really, first of all, just remind us about the ban, the legislation that just passed, and then let's talk about this lawsuit.
Yeah, and let me just jump in with experts. There's a lot of really good folks that I had that testified in the committee. The real experts on the ground are our Department of Agriculture, and Dr. Forsyth was an absolute champion. Unfortunately, he was named personally in the lawsuit. I don't know why you would do that, but we've got some really good experts, really good medical professionals that were involved throughout the process. So the ban does take place. It'll take place on May 6th, and the only products that will be allowed in the state of Utah to be sold are pure kratom leaf in smoke 'em shops, and that's going to be the only product that is allowed after May 6th.
Mike, can you tell our listeners what it is about kratom that has you concerned and that had the legislature and the experts that spoke to the legislature concerned about passing this law?
Yeah, and this goes back to my comments about the expertise. We've had our state medical examiner, we've got our toxicology folks who have looked at this issue. We've got now over 200 kratom-related deaths. We passed the Kratom Consumer Protection Act in 2019, and there was almost instantly a spike in problems with kratom in the state of Utah. Deseret News did a great report covering the CDC report that just came out within the last week, over 1,000% increase in calls to CDC, these centers with problems. When we look at the lawsuit that we're facing right now, this is a Kreta Kava product, and you'll see right in the CDC report that was just released that a lot of the increases in calls relate back not just to kratom, but kratom Kava mixtures. They seem to be much more potent, much more dangerous, much more deadly.
So what is this lawsuit trying to get Utah to do?
Well, they want to sell their product, and this shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody. This same company sued the state last year. That case ultimately got dismissed. They're back at it. In my view, I think it's a frivolous lawsuit, but something I've said in the press, this product is called Feel Free, and it is one of the most dangerous kava kratom products out there that I've been able to see. I bought this product. I got this product tested, and I'll tell you, when I talked to clerks, I told the clerks the same thing in these stores when I went shopping for kratom. Sell me your most popular product, and Feel Free is one of the most popular products. Doesn't surprise me. Their sales are $10 million. The average consumer will buy up to six of these bottles a day. Some buy even more, but that's kind of the average. One bottle is 2 servings, 12 servings a day. This product has killed folks, and it's been a very, very dangerous product to have on shelves.
Mike, can you tell our listeners and me? I'm a lawyer, and I'm trying to figure out what the cause of action. Are they claiming that they have some right to sell their product and that it cannot be regulated, or what are they claiming that we've done wrong?
Yeah, that's actually exactly what they're claiming. They're claiming under federal law that supplements are protected to be sold, and that they do have some protections. This product has been banned in more than 8 states, and ultimately, I think this is a lawsuit that is not going to land well. But I'll tell you, Phil Free has been on the other end of those lawsuits. If a simple Google search, you start looking at this company, Botanic Tonics, they've been on the back end of multiple lawsuits. They've paid multiple lawsuits, and they've been a very litigious company. So it doesn't surprise me. It's not something. Do I think they're going to win their lawsuit? No, I don't. They've lost several lawsuits where they've been the defendant as well.
I have a quick question. Is this going to delay the implementation of Utah's ban at all?
I don't think so. It's not clear to me at this point. I probably need to get some clarification from some of the attorneys involved, but I don't think so. A lot of these companies should be taking these products off the shelves anyways. It's still a mystery to me. Why a Chevron, why a Sinclair, why a Maverick would put this product on the front counter when there's so much devastation that's happening. There's, the product K-Chill, for example, is subject to a class action lawsuit, and that's the product that you'll see right on the front kiosk in the Maverick. It's a mystery to me why these companies are still waiting until May 6th when they know this product at this point. They have notice of how dangerous this product actually is.
Senator McCall, can you tell our listeners, is the current law a total ban on the sale of this product, or does it allow for it to be sold in some sort of regulated capacity, for example, like what a doctor would allow?
So it's not a full ban. I wish it was. I worked with the House and other lawmakers, and they had some sincere concerns about doing a full ban. But what the law says today is you must be 21 years or older to buy kratom, and the only kratom that can be sold is pure leaf kratom, and it can only be sold in regulated smoke shops. And we did provide some additional authority for our Department of Agriculture to monitor those smoke shops. I'll tell you, these smoke shops better be careful. We've had some pretty serious raids with law enforcement in the state recently, and I think there are a number of smoke shops that are on the fringe, and they better be careful what they're selling. Not just kratom, but it's been a really difficult industry to regulate.
I'm very naive about the product itself, and I don't want to get into the details, but it must have some serious health effects, or you wouldn't have done this. People have been had some problems with it.
Yeah, so it does have some serious health effects. It acts like an opioid, and the problem that we have, Greg, is we've got this group out there, the American Kratom Association, and there's another association that actually Botanic Tonics is part of. But they have these lists of their preferred vendors, and a lot of these vendors have enhanced these products to make them much more dangerous. I invited Patty Wheeler to the Capitol. She lost her son Wyatt to a program called OPMS, and that's different than Botanic Tonics. But it's also a product that is listed right on the top of the American Kratom Association's website as a preferred vendor, and that's what we see in the state of Utah. We have these big companies that have enhanced kratom. They made them far more dangerous. And I think the industry's days are numbered. I think states are catching on. As I watch, Connecticut just passed a ban. The Speaker of the House in Michigan had a very, very aggressive hearing pushing a ban in that state. The Kratom Association just went to Idaho trying to pass the Consumer Protection Act, and that failed on a vote of 15 to 20 in the Senate, never made it to the House. I think people are catching up to what this product actually is, and unfortunately we've allowed an industry to take a product and make it much, much more dangerous. And going back to Botanic Tonics, this is a company that has made kratom products much more dangerous. They've adulterated it, they've enhanced it, they've extracted kava, and they've intentionally made a product much more dangerous and much more addictive.
All right. Thanks so much for that. That was Senator Mike McKell, the lead sponsor on the legislation to ban kratom in the state of Utah, all except for whole leaf sold in smoke shops.
Right. And it was interesting. We learned a lot about this product ourselves during the legislative session because I'd never heard of it or realized what it did, but it sounded like something that absolutely should be regulated. Well, Taylor Frankie Paul, the star of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, is set to appear in court today over a protective order put forward by her boyfriend. We'll discuss what's expected and the ins and outs of how protective orders work when we come back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. Utah's governor is calling on people to show their support for military families over the next several weeks. Governor Spencer Cox has officially designated this month as the Month of the Military Child to honor the roughly 15,000 children of service members living here in Utah. He's also declaring next Wednesday, April 15th, as Purple Up Day, where he's asking people to wear purple to visibly show their support to military children. We'll have special coverage on the war in Iran tomorrow and Thursday. Tomorrow we'll take a more human look at the war and focus on military families and what we can do to support them. And on Thursday, we'll look at the war through an economic lens. That special coverage Wednesday and Thursday here on KSL News Radio. And, of course, we'll follow all the current headlines like our top national story tonight being President Trump's deadline for the Iranians to come to a deal or else the U.S. military will target the country's infrastructure.
Yesterday, he set this 8 p.m. Eastern Time deadline tonight for Iran to make a deal, reopen the Strait of Hormuz, or else, he said, the entire country could be demolished. He is threatening to go after the power plants there, to target all of the bridges. And yesterday, he made it very clear he wants to see a deal. And he was asked, does it have to be a deal? Is it reopening the strait or both? And he indicated it is both.
One of his new social media posts has drawn criticism from some Republicans, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, the post saying, quote, "A whole civilization will die tonight." Your money at this moment, perhaps reacting to all of the uncertainty. The Dow down 333 points today to 46,336. Coming up, we've got warm this week and then rain coming on the weekend. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. You can feel the spring in the air. As a matter of fact, we've been feeling the spring in the air all winter long. But as the season genuinely changes, it's time to make your reservation at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, Hotel Park City, and downtown Salt Lake City. And don't forget, quite a few great events are just around the corner, including some holidays. We'll have a lot of visitors in Salt Lake City before long, and it's time to make your reservation at the downtown location, 275 South West Temple. And of course, up in the mountains, it is beautiful. There's still some skiing going on. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse is right there at Hotel Park City. The best meal you have ever had awaits you at Ruth's Chris. Whether it's steaks, whether it's poultry, whether it's seafood, the side dishes, the desserts, you're going to love Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, downtown Salt Lake City, and Hotel Park City.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 354, is looking for telecommunication technicians and fiber splicers to fill immediate job openings. Technicians work with network cabling and fiber optics to build communication networks and infrastructure. Come to our job fair on Thursday, April 9th and 23rd from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Utah Electrical Training Alliance in West Jordan, 7466 South Redwood Road. The IBEW is offering an amazing job opportunity. Enjoy a competitive wage, paid holidays, and employer-paid health care and retirements. Learn more at our job fair on Thursday, April 9th and 23rd from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Utah Electrical Training Alliance in West Jordan, 7466 South Redwood Road. Meet the contractors and tour the training center. Do you want to become a telecom technician? Apply for the 3-year telecom apprenticeship. Get paid while you learn. Invest in yourself. Join the IBEW. Learn more at IBEW354.org.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
Progressive knows you could have easily taken the freeway, but you took the scenic route to see a waterfall and an oddly busy boiled peanut stand. Discovering the unexpected is exactly why you bought an RV, so protect it with a bundle from Progressive. Because although you may be 3 hours behind schedule, you're 6 jars of jam richer and possibly enrolled in a butter-churning workshop. Switch to Progressive and protect your RV, boat, or motorcycle by bundling with your home and auto insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big. UCCU. Love where you bank. Here's Cormac Bone.
The crash that we had on I-15 in Utah County has cleared off the road, and we did have a crash in Clearfield on 2000 West. That one's also cleared off the road. So it's once again a problem-free drive really on all your major roadways all across the Wasatch Front. I-15 running clean and clear between Ogden and Provo. So it's construction causing our heaviest delays in Lehigh, of course. Eastbound Pioneer Crossing, that starts at 7800 West right now, and it's heavy and slow till you get onto I-15. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast. Today will be sunny, highs in the lower 70s. That warm weather pattern continues the rest of the week, but a small chance of showers appears on Thursday. It's really not till Sunday going into Monday that it's more likely for everybody. Right now it's 61 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake. From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, I'm Andy Farnsworth. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Taylor Frankie Paul, the star of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, is set to appear in court today over a protective order put forward by her ex-boyfriend, who also wants custody.
Right. If you haven't followed this story, here's a little refresher as to what's going on today. This is KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis.
A protective order has been filed against Taylor Frankie Paul by her ex-boyfriend Dakota Mortensen. Today she'll appear in court for the hearing. In 2023, Paul was charged with aggravated assault, domestic violence, and child abuse after she threw metal chairs at Mortensen, one hitting her daughter.
Daughter is right here.
Paul has been a star of the reality TV show Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and it was only days before her season of The Bachelor aired, a video of the incident was published by TMZ, forcing ABC to cancel the show. Draper police are currently investigating abuse accusations on both sides. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
Yeah, this is a wild story.
So a couple of things that I saw online the other day. She has announced that she's no longer a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and so somebody quipped, well, she's not a wife and she's not a Mormon. So in The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Mormon Wives, yeah, there you go.
Okay, look, I want to ask you about protective orders because, as I understand it, the ex-boyfriend has a temporary protective order and temporary custody of that daughter that was in the sound that we just heard. So can you, what's happening today, Greg?
Yeah, so what's happening today is that the temporary protective order was filed. It was granted by the judge, but temporary means just that. And what happens in Utah is you can actually get what's called an ex parte protective order. In other words, you don't even have to let the other party know what you're doing. You go to the court. They have people that actually will help you in the court. If you've been the victim of domestic violence, you can get a protective order. But under the law, of course, you have due process, and the other side can request a hearing and can request it in fairly short order. And they did. Taylor and her attorneys did request a hearing. They had a hearing, and the judge said, okay, I'm going to put this protective order in place so it's very temporary. Then it becomes somewhat temporary. It's in place right now. But the judge scheduled 2 hearings, one of which is today and one of which is on the 30th. The one today is to determine what's going to happen with respect to the custody of the child.
Okay.
So the protective order is in place, and the protective order said, Daddy gets the child. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be permanent. So the judge is hearing the parent time orders today, and that's probably occurring right as we're speaking. So the judge will decide, and actually it's a commissioner, not that that makes a significant difference, but that's who hears these protective orders. A very good commissioner here in Salt Lake. And then on the 30th, the same commissioner will decide whether or not to make this protective order permanent, make it more so that it's long-standing, because you can't just put somebody in a protective order status because there are significant things that happen, not the least of which is if you're a subject of a protective order in America, you may not possess a firearm during the period of a protective order. And if you have a concealed carry permit, you can't. You have to surrender that. They'll take it from you. Actually, if you're a firearm dealer, you'll lose your license. And if you can't even have usually a firearm in your home. So I tell people when they have these protective orders, you got to get all the guns out of your house. And so imagine a police officer who gets a protective order. He or she can't work.
Oh yeah. Wow. Okay. So look, we've talked a lot, I think, on this show about domestic violence, and my understanding is sometimes people kind of think protective orders are not that effective.
Right.
So would it be in this case?
Well, it should be, and it probably will be. Let's go back a little bit to help you understand that question. In 2023, she was charged criminally here in Salt Lake County with aggravated assault and a number of other charges. She entered a guilty plea, and she admitted the following facts in that plea. And I've got her plea form here, the thing that she signed and filled out. And she said at that time, on or about February 17th, 2023, the defendant threw a metal stool at her boyfriend. So she admitted that, and she said, I admit that, and she signed that document. So the judge entered an order. Now, this is the criminal case. It's called a plea in abeyance. She pled guilty to a felony. Sometimes a plea in abeyance means you be good, you stay out of trouble, blah, blah, blah. The case goes away. This doesn't. This is a plea in abeyance, which is if she does everything she's required to do under the terms of the plea in abeyance, it's entered as a misdemeanor. So it doesn't go away. It's just that she pled to a felony, but if she does everything, her conviction will show a misdemeanor. I'm only setting the backdrop for this.
Okay.
So then the husband, or the father of the child, whatever the relationship was, goes and files for the protective order.
I actually had to look at that. So she actually has 2 children with a former husband and 1 child with the former boyfriend.
Right.
And he has custody of the child that he is the father of, who is their 2-year-old, the youngest.
Right.
And she shares custody with her ex-husband.
Right.
Okay.
Who
so
hasn't filed a protective
just
order.
to clear that up.
Right, yes. So it may not have a claim that he's been abused. So then the former boyfriend, files his protective order, and he says, look, why he waited 3 years, I don't know, because she pled guilty in 2023. He enters his protective order in 2026, so maybe there were some ongoing problems or something like that. It makes me wonder why the judge entered it, because a protective order really requires that there be some immediacy, that there's something you're fearful of now. Maybe there's something going on behind the scenes that I don't know about. But the judge did grant the protective order and said there's reason to believe, A, that I've got jurisdiction over this case, B, that they were cohabitants, and C, that there's been some violence and that there's a substantial likelihood that his safety is at jeopardy here. So the judge entered into this protective order. It's civil. It's not criminal. It really has nothing to do with the criminal case, except that it's based on the same conduct.
Right.
This attack with the pot or whatever it was,
a chair,
caused a criminal charge of aggravated assault. It caused a protective order they're 2 different judges, 2 different courts, 2 different courtrooms. I mean, they're different, but they have different remedies. One, you have up to 5 years in prison, fine of up to $5,000. The other one is stay away. Now, let's get to your question. That was a long preface. What effect do these have? Well, a violation of a protective order is a crime. So now she can't contact him. There are very, very strict limits on what communication they can have. So it doesn't require her to punch him again or to fight with him again.
Okay.
She cannot make inappropriate comments or contact with him, or she's violating the protective order, and that in and of itself is a new crime, which for her would be a huge problem because she's under this abeyance agreement.
Okay.
If she got a new crime under that time, boom, that felony is going to be entered on her record.
Okay. So just to recap, today she's having a hearing on this temporary protective order that's been granted to her ex-boyfriend, Dakota Mortensen. He has right now temporary sole custody of their son, Ever, who is 2 years old. However, that is not the same child who was in the video where the metal chair was thrown. That was a child with her ex-husband. That is clear as mud. I will just say that.
No, because she has numerous children. And so when there's a domestic violence situation, there's a separate crime called domestic violence in the presence of a child.
Right.
Even if the child's not the victim of it. Even
Right.
if the child's upstairs asleep.
Right.
If a couple gets in a fight and there's an assault involving domestic violence, and there's a child present in the home, you can add a different count, a different charge for every child, domestic violence in the presence of a child. She had several of those, although those were dismissed as a part of the plea bargain in the criminal case. She just entered a guilty plea to the aggravated assault on the boyfriend himself.
So even though the 2-year-old wasn't present there, he was able to get a restraining order or a protective order because I'm sure he's claiming that she's a danger to children.
Right. She committed this act in the presence of a child. You even heard the child yipping in the background in that video, that tape we just heard.
All right. Well, all of that exciting news. When we come back, we're going to dig into some political whiplash facing a Utah congressman who has been, he worked on the state's anti-gerrymandering effort, and it's coming back to bite him. We're going to talk with Politico reporter Sam Benson after the break.
Andy, I like that shirt. Is that a new shirt?
It is. It's from Ann Collar, and it's really rare to find a shirt that looks good and is super comfortable. And this is a fabric unlike anything I've ever felt.
I got one for my husband and my sons, and watching my 19-year-old put on the Ann Collar shirt and sort of check himself out in the mirror, I thought, wow, he's really digging that. And I can understand why, because it's not just comfortable, it's stain repellent, which I needed.
Oh, my goodness,
that
is something.
He attracts spaghetti sauce to shirts like you would not believe. And with these Ann Collar shirts, I can get it out.
I have to wear a special bib when I eat spaghetti with a white shirt on. But with Ann Collar shirts, it takes those little tiny nicks and stains, and they don't stick to you. Yeah, you don't have to dump a bucket of stuff on you, but it would repel that too.
You've got to try one. So whether it's the traditional white shirt or any of the patterns they have, it's Ann Collar, and they're made right here in Utah.
If you've never tried Ann Collar before, we have got permission to give you 15% off at andcollar.com and go get your first. Use the code KSL15.
That's Ann Collar, ANDcollar.com.
Are you looking to find more fairways, hit more greens, and lower your scores? Then it's time for a custom fitting from a Shields certified master fitter. Learning from the world's top fitters at Titleist Performance Institute, Callaway Performance Center, and the Ping Proving Grounds, we have the tools and expertise to match the right clubs to your swing for a more consistent game. Elevate your play today. Visit shields.com/expert fitting to schedule your session.
This is Nate Orchard from Advanced Window Products. When you live in Utah, your windows do a lot more than let the light in. They protect your home from freezing winters, blazing summers, and everything in between. That's why Advanced Window Products builds every window for your local climate. No middleman, no out-of-state delays, just factory direct quality, custom made for your home. Imagine a quieter home, a warmer home, a cooler home. Our high-efficiency vinyl windows are engineered to lower your energy bills and boost your comfort all year round. And installation is done by our own certified in-house crews, never subcontractors. That's why Utah homeowners give us 5-star reviews. Right now, take advantage of our anniversary sale. For a limited time, get $2,500 off when you buy 10 or more windows. Call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. For 40 years, Advanced Window Products has been the name Utah trusts for custom replacement windows and sliding glass doors. Advanced Window Products, built here, installed here, trusted here. Call 801-850-9100 for that $2,500 off, or visit us at advancedwindows.com to schedule your free in-home estimate.
I was in foot pain for 20 years, trying to give it relief, buying all these different insoles. Drugstore insoles, custom insoles. I spent thousands of dollars. I bought all these products, and not a single one worked. I really, truly needed to have relief in my feet. And the Good Feet arch supports were what gave me the relief I needed.
For over 20 years, we've been helping people like Teresa actually live the life they love without their feet getting in the way.
They wanted to make sure that I got something that my feet felt good in, not somebody else's feet. I love the fact that I can wear these arch supports in all my shoes. I have boots, I have cowboy boots, I have running shoes, I have walking shoes, I have flat shoes, I have heels. It makes me so happy. If you ask my husband, he will crack up because there is no store I would rather go in than a shoe store. I'm Teresa, and that's my Good Feet story.
See what we can do for you with a free personalized arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Most financial advisors only manage your money. They refer you out for taxes, they refer you out for estate planning, they refer you out when things get complicated. Did they really vet that person? Or did they meet once, exchange business cards, and call it a partnership? A referral isn't accountability. It's a handoff. When your investments, taxes, and estate plan are built separately, gaps happen, and those can cost money. At Trajan, we didn't build a referral network. We built a family office for all. Wealth, tax, estate. One team delivering coordinated planning, once reserved for the ultra-wealthy. If you want real coordination and not just introductions, call Trajan Wealth today. Call Trajan today at 801-207-9900. That's 801-207-9900. 801-207-9900. That's 801-207-9900.
Advisory services through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Other services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures at TrajanWealth.com.
Right now, water heaters are on sale at Any Hour Services. Schedule a free estimate today to see how much you'll save. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Over the years, you've brought opioids into your home. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Inside Sources.
Well, the political whiplash from Prop 4 is hitting one of Utah's congressmen. Proposition 4, if you recall, was a ballot initiative in 2018 that provided that if voters passed it, which they did, that we would create this redistricting commission, a group to get together, an independent redistricting commission, to get together and make a proposal to the legislature on how to redistrict the state. That happened. They made their proposal. The legislature largely disregarded it, and a lawsuit and a lot of other things followed.
Yeah, it's been ongoing, and we've talked about this numerous times. But one of the things that, of course, that has happened is that now we do have a map for the 2026 elections, and it does include a Salt Lake City focused district. It's now numbered District 1. It will almost certainly go to a Democratic candidate, and we just. One of the issues, of course, that comes up all the time is, are you conservative enough for Utah voters? What kind of backlash is there? Well, Representative Blakemore was involved in Proposition 4 and anti-gerrymandering, and now that's being used against him. We have
because he supported it.
Yes.
He helped put it together.
So we have it's just interesting to me to always see, look, every Republican incumbent who's running for Congress, and remember Burgess Owens is retiring, but every the other three, they all have Republican challengers, right? And one of the things that challengers do is they have to tell you what the difference is between them and the incumbent. So we have an observer from Washington, D.C. It's Sam Benson, and he writes from Politico, for Politico, and he also used to write for the Deseret News. So happy to have you, Sam.
Hey, Holly, it's great to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Can you just set up for us this whole maybe conundrum that Congressman Blakemore is facing right now?
Sure. And I think a lot of your listeners are probably familiar with the contours here. It goes back to 2017 and 2018 when Blakemore was the co-chair of Better Boundaries, one of 4 co-chairs. He felt strongly that we should push back against gerrymandering and fight for fair redistricting. And so, as you mentioned, they passed a ballot initiative that fall in 2018 that created an independent redistricting commission. Y'all know, and your listeners know, everything that's happened in the 8 years since then. That's eventually led, quite unpredictably, to the congressional map we have now. But because of that, and because of the frustration that a lot of Republicans in the state are feeling because of this new map, and particularly because the Prop 4 repeal effort, collapsed last week or 2 weeks ago, they're now taking some of that anger out on Moore. So he faces 2 primary challengers. One of them, Carrie Ann Lisenby, who y'all know used to be in the state legislature, has made this kind of central to her argument, saying that Moore is responsible for Utah now having a blue congressional seat. Moore, of course, pushes back on that, says this wasn't what he intended. He simply just wanted a fair process on a specific outcome, like a blue seat. But that's kind of becoming central to this primary, and it'll be interesting to see in 3 weeks at a convention how the delegates respond to this, and then in the June primary how voters respond.
Sam, can you remind our listeners what Congressman Moore's role was in all that? Was he just a member of the commission that proposed, or how did that work?
He was a co-chair, so there were 4 co-chairs leading this initiative. He was involved, speaking at events from time to time, arguing why this ballot initiative was necessary and why it should pass. He helped volunteer with certain events across the state. There was one in Salt Lake. You remember the old map in that 2018 cycle, that in Salt Lake City there was one area where 4 of the congressional districts touched. It's similar to the current map. And they held a 5K race called a Jerry Meander, where they, ran a 5K 3 miles through all 4 of the districts. And he was involved with events like that. So it was really kind of he was pushing for this ballot initiative and arguing for fair drawing of the maps, and an independent commission he thought was the best way to do that.
And I suppose he couldn't have predicted where we are today. I mean, did you think he miscalculated? Because the Better Boundaries Commission did come together, and the voters did pass the resolution, although the Republicans always remind us it was by a narrow margin. But it's just been so much controversy since then.
Yeah, well, I mean, his argument to me, what he said to me, is that he couldn't have predicted how this all came about. He disagrees with Judge Gibson's ruling last year that installed the new map. He wishes that she would have given the legislature more time and allowed them to use their constitutional right to draw the map and create one. And so he certainly disagrees with how this is all played about. But where a lot of Republicans in the state are frustrated is they wish he would be more upfront and honest, or not honest, but more kind of brazen in his critiques of both Judge Gibson and of the current map. I quote Speaker Schultz, Mike Schultz, in the Utah State House, who has endorsed Carrie Ann Lisenby, and he thinks that Blake should have come out from the start and said that he supported the Prop 4 repeal. He should have signed, when they were gathering signatures for that, and he should have been more forceful in denouncing the new map. So there are a lot of people that are upset because Moore didn't go far enough in his opposition, even though they probably agree in saying that they don't support this new map. And I realistically think they're all on the same page there. There's just differences of opinion in how forceful they've been in opposing it.
Sam, let me ask you this question, because you've been a political observer for quite some time. Is really the complaint against Blake Moore, is that really focused on an eye to 2028 elections?
Well, that's a point I make in this story, right? An observation that a lot of the loudest voices critiquing him are people that probably have a real stake in the 2028 races in Utah, the statewide elections. This will be the first time in, I think, 12 years that we'll have the governor's seat and a U.S. Senate seat up for re-election or up for election on the same ballot. Of course, Mike Schultz, the House Speaker, is widely rumored to be a contender for that race, and he's been one of the most vocal critics of Blake Moore in this cycle. Mike Lee, of course, will be up for re-election, and his chief strategist, Dan Hauser, has been active on social media critiquing Blake and saying Salt Lake Blake should run in the new 1st District in Salt Lake City. And so I point out in this story that there seem to be contours here of kind of a 2028 proxy war happening, where some of the folks that could be running against Moore should Moore, and again, there's a huge question mark if Moore is even interested in running for higher office, for governor or for the U.S. Senate. But should he do so, he would be running in a Republican primary against some of these folks, potentially like Schultz or like Senator Lee. And it seems that these folks or people in their orbits are already kind of working to get their punches in and seeing how they can bruise up Moore before that 2028 cycle.
What is Moore's position? I mean, you articulated it early on, but how is he responding to this, or is he not really coming out? Because it seems like Carrie Ann Lisenby certainly is. She said, "What good is leadership when Blake made it easier for Democrats to take the House?" I mean, what kind of responses are we getting from Moore on comments like that?
Well, in my conversations with Moore, and then in what he said publicly, there's kind of two things. One thing is that he just kind of rolls his eyes and says that he's faced tough primaries before, and this is no different. And that's true. He's run 3 times, right? In 2020, in that open primary for when Rob Bishop retired, he emerged out of a really crowded field. In both 2022 and 24, he faced really tough challenges and lost that convention, but then went on to win by 20-plus percentage points in the primary. So that's the first thing he says, is basically this isn't different, like this happens every cycle, and I emerge victorious. The second thing he says is that people are really misunderstanding his involvement with the initial Better Boundaries initiative. I mean, he owns up to the fact that he stood for fighting gerrymandering. He stood for fair redistricting. He wanted an independent commission, but he really disagrees with how the chips have fallen He's been vocal in saying he disagrees with Judge Gibson's decision, like I mentioned, and he's been pretty open to the fact that he doesn't like that there's like a blue district in Utah. So like he's been very vocal and transparent about that. I think a real question is whether voters care. Like there's a very loud contingent in the Utah Republican Party right now that are trying to pin this on him. But his campaign shared internal polling with us that showed him up by 40+ percentage points against Bill Lisenby and Colton Hatch, his other challengers. So at the end of the day, like the question is whether this really matters to the average voter. We're not sure yet. And that's why I think the 2028 angle is so interesting, because even if Moore cruises to re-election this cycle, which, based on history and this polling suggests he might, we don't know obviously, but he very well might, 2028 is interesting. So there's a lot of question marks about the statewide races that cycle.
All right. Thanks so much, Sam. I always appreciate your analysis.
Kind of unexpected. I didn't realize Moore's involvement in that, and that he's taking this backlash for it. Maybe a little bit unfair, but we'll see how that shakes out as the Republican primaries
part of campaigning.
Get going. Well, Harvard might limit the amount of A's given to fight grade inflation, and students are not very happy about that. Would a policy like this make college more fair or just more stressful? We'll talk about that after the break.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. A Tooele man is now facing an attempted murder charge after prosecutors accused him of stabbing his own brother during an argument.
41-year-old Derek Brian Jones could face 1 to 15 years in prison if he's found guilty of this. Charging documents obtained by KSL say Jones's brother called 911 saying his brother was intoxicated when he stabbed him in the chest. Jones's brother survived but was seriously hurt. Court records also show Jones has a lengthy criminal history where he's been convicted of assault or aggravated assault multiple times over the last 19 years.
KSL News Radio's Adam Small reporting. Weber County has launched an investigation after an inmate died in the county jail on Monday. The sheriff's office has not provided the person's name, but said they were found unresponsive during a security check around 4 a.m. after what they called a medical event. They were taken to the hospital where they were pronounced dead. According to the sheriff's office, there is no indication that the incident was self-inflicted. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Just days after their wedding, the wife of a U.S. service member was detained by ICE and could face deportation. Homeland Security officials claim she tried to enter a military base. More from ABC's Jay O'Brien.
Annie Ramos is in ICE custody awaiting possible deportation. Agents arresting the 22-year-old newlywed last week when Ramos and her husband, Staff Sergeant Matthew Blanc, went to check in at a military office at Fort Polk, Louisiana. Staff Sergeant Blanc telling ABC News, what was supposed to be the happiest week of our lives has turned into one of the hardest. Instead of preparing for our future together, I am now fighting for her freedom, and I will not stop fighting until she is back where she belongs, by my side.
The 22-year-old was brought to the U.S. as a baby and was about to finish her college degree. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 234 points to 46,435. Coming up, we've got warm temperatures this week before rain settles in on the weekend. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
It was opening night at Hale Center Theater for The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Victor Hugo's classic tale. I was with my son, Ian, and it was nothing short of spectacular. The staging, the costuming, the music, it's simply breathtaking. And, of course, the actors and the voices. You have to see The Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's on the main stage right now at Hale Center Theater. So many of the scenes are never to be forgotten. For example, when Frollo is just struggling with his passion for Esmeralda and his soul, the flames and the tension on the stage is unbelievable. And to see the Hunchback up in the tower with the bells, don't miss Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's underway right now at Hale Center Theater. And continuing, Peter Pan Goes Wrong. That's on the Jewel Box stage and Hallmarked on the Beehive stage. Get your tickets now. hct.org. Don't miss the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
How was your break? It was great until I stopped for gas. Prices have gone up almost $1 with no end in sight. I might have to start watching how much I drive.
That's exactly why I use Upside. I never pay full price for gas with the free
free Upside app.
Upside?
Yes, Upside. It's the free app that gives you cash back just for buying the gas you're already buying. So, even with the rising gas prices, I'll never have to limit how much I drive.
Does that actually add up to anything?
Just last year, I made over $200 with the Upside app.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Upside app right now.
Download the free Upside app to earn cash back on the gas you're already buying. Use promo code THRIVE25 for an extra 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank account, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code THRIVE25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first fill-up. That's THRIVE25.
Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions.
Hello, this is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is the largest family law firm in the country with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. If you or someone you care about is facing a family law issue, let us set up a 1-hour Cordell Consult. The Cordell Consult is a meeting with a local attorney who will give you clear guidance about your options, whether it's a separation, a postnuptial agreement, divorce, or custody. Take the first step. Visit CordellCordell.com. That's CordellCordell.com.
Now streaming on Angel, The Parables of Jesus, the Good Samaritan, is a powerful cinematic retelling of Christ's parable set in a fractured first-century world simmering with turmoil, suspicion, and quiet hostility. Told through intimate performances and moments charged with moral tension, The Good Samaritan draws viewers into the weight of each choice and the cost of Christ-like love. It leaves us with the Savior's enduring question that confronts every generation. Who is my neighbor? Experience The Good Samaritan today with your family. Now streaming on angel.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at UCCU.com. Here's Cormac Bone.
No major accidents or delays on any of our roadways across the Wasatch Front. I-15 is a clean and clear drive from Ogden to Provo. I-80 through Parleys and from Tooele County into Salt Lake County. No delays or accidents there. All we have is just regular slowdowns eastbound Pioneer Crossing and Lehigh as you try to get onto I-15. Common Spirit hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advanced healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather today, sunny with highs in the lower 70s. That warm weather continues the rest of the week. Small chance of showers on Thursday, but it really won't hit till Saturday. Maybe Saturday night. Sunday for sure, and Monday it looks like a pretty good chance as well. Right now, 63 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, you ever heard of grade inflation? Harvard is considering a cap on how many A's can be given per class. Supporters of this say, well, it would curb grade inflation. It makes grades actually mean something instead of everybody just getting an A. But students say it's unfair. What do you think? Text us at 57500 and join the conversation. And I'm happy to have alongside me a current college professor. What do you think?
So look, when I went to school, some of my professors graded on a curve, right? Which is basically what you're saying is the bulk. If you think of a bell curve, so the bell up at the top, you're going to have the average, and the average is in like the C range. And then as you go towards the top, the outliers are the A's and the F's on both sides. So I am not a fan of grading on the curve, because what that does is then you start to nitpick about 1 or 2 point differences and just say, oh, well, technically, I think you did A work, but because I can't give you an A because I already have enough A's, you have to have a B. So I will share this experience. When I was, I was already a graduate student, and I was assisting. I was a TA in a class, and my supervising professor told me I was too generous with the grades, and I had to go back and give more C's.
I had the exact same experience. I taught at the University of Utah Law School, and I taught a class called Trial Advocacy, which is exactly what it implies. And so students would come in, and we would teach them how to do a trial. And it ended with a mock trial. You did a mock trial at the end of the year. We even had jurors come and attend it. And I thought it was such a interesting class with guest speakers all the time and demonstrations that it didn't seem like contract law or tort law or criminal law. Not that those were not equal or maybe even more important, but to me it seemed like it was a class that everybody should get an A minus, B, because you did all this work and ultimately you put on a trial. And so, but the deans of the law school at the time said, Greg, you can't give too many A's. You've got to go on a curve. And so I did, and I got this backlash from students who said, look, I took this class because it has a history of everybody getting an A, and you're messing me up. And I got in more trouble with both the dean and the students because I was trying to, for exactly the reason you said, because I thought, okay, for every A, I've got to give a C. Even if the work between the two was minuscule, because you had to have my curve wasn't at the C level, it was like at the B minus, but you still had to have an equal number on both sides, and boy, did I get in trouble. And I thought to myself, looking back even now, I thought, that's a class, and maybe Harvard is an exception because it's not like every class you should get an A, but I thought that's a class that people should get. Maybe you should do pass-fail or something, but it seemed like an easy class for people to get an A. You complete the trial and you get your A.
So the reason we're talking about this is there's a Wall Street Journal article that is specifically mentioning Harvard, but their faculty is set to vote next week on a proposal to cap the number of A's per course to 20%. So the top 20% of the course, plus you can give an additional 4 A's if so it accounts for smaller courses. But that resets to Harvard's 2011 levels, which I didn't know they had a cap on A's in 2011. But it came after a report was released in the fall that about 60% of the grades at Harvard were A's in the 2024-25 school year, up from about 25% in 2005.
Yeah. And so, I mean, say what you want about Harvard. You would expect that the students that go there, that get in there, that are qualified to go there, I certainly didn't or couldn't, or A students to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would assume that, actually.
So if that's the case, why not give them A's? I don't know. I mean, Harvard doesn't have a lot of fans in the populace.
So they're working on, they're saying this is grade inflation, right? We're giving A's where they're not deserved. That's what grade inflation is, right? We're just going to give higher grades to students than their actual academic achievements. And is that true, or are they performing at grade level, right? So the class I'm currently teaching is a freshman entry level, and I would say that all of the kids, all of the young adults enrolled in that class are doing a pretty darn good job, right? It's pretty good. And are they at the beginning of their academic career? Yes. Does that make a difference in my mind? Yes. Would I grade harder if they were graduate students? Yes. But they're doing a good job, right? So we do want to hear from our texters, and we have several already. But text us at 57500 and tell us, do you think capping A's, the number of A's you can give out per course, is that fair?
I thought that the proposal to cap the number at 20% was very small.
I think it's small.
Right now, it's at 60%. It was 25%. 20 years ago. Why we're going down to 20% seems a little tough. I mean, they are. I mean, I could never get in, but they are the cream of the crop, I guess. And maybe you should have 30 or 30%, 40, 50% even to 20%. Boy, that means a lot of kids are not going to get good
means
grades.
A lot of people are not going to get grades. Look, I have to share an experience of my son who he was in a university here where the professor was grading on the curve. He was doing so well in the class. The professor came to him before the final and said, "Don't take it. You have an A in the class, but you're totally blowing the curve for everybody else."
Interesting. You and I both had to do certain things and had at least I believe we both did. I certainly did. To get into law school, you had to take not only the LSAT, the law school admission test, but your GPA. And I took my undergraduate was in, of all things, I don't know if you even know this, metallurgical engineering.
Yes.
That's what my degree was in.
Yeah.
And so we weren't all A students because that was engineering. It was really hard.
Yeah, exactly.
But the law school recognized that as opposed to liberal arts and say, okay, it's a little.
Are you saying liberal arts are easier?
My wife's an English major, so I got to be careful here. She was cum laude. She did very well. I did not do particularly well, but they gave me a little bit of a break because I came from such a hard discipline.
Look, I will tell you that I have a 4 different degrees from 4 different Utah universities. My worst GPA was the first degree. It was in nursing. It was tolerable, but not that good.
Yeah.
The other ones, they're all pretty good. They weren't straight A's. Actually, they weren't straight A's. Almost. But if they were to look at that very first degree and say, well, your GPA is like a 2.5, you're not going to get in, that would have been problematic for me because I took a 30-year break, right? I'm 30 years older. I've got life experience, etc. So anyway, I earned A's in all my classes after that, except for stats. Then I was very happy to get a B.
That was my point about this, because some of these students, let's face it, are trying to get into medical school. They're trying to get into law school. They're trying to get into an MBA school or any grad school. And the grade is what makes the difference at that level. I mean, nobody cares today about Holly Richardson and Greg Skorda's GPA.
They don't. No, they don't.
Thank goodness. But they did at the time to get into law school or other things. So I can understand these grades being important. And an A is an A. I think of it. I'm personally not in favor of these caps, but we'll see what our listeners have to say.
Well, that's right. And we're still asking for more input. Is putting a cap on A grades per course, is that fair? Is it going to motivate students, or is it going to bring on more stress? You can call us, 801-575-TALK, and we'll talk to you on air. Tell us what you think, 801-575-TALK, or you can continue to text us at 57500, and we will read some of those when we come back.
Every year, we seem to have a few people trying to get our free furnace promotion after the sale has ended. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I know you want to save as much money as you can, but that's not how sales work. When they're over, they're over. Lucky for you, we still have a few more spots on our schedule we need to fill, so I'm extending the sale, but I'm not quite sure for how much longer. Definitely no later than April 30th, and once I think our schedule's full enough, I gotta pull these ads, so don't wait too long to call and schedule your free estimate. Just to recap, when you have Any Hour Services install a new air conditioner, we'll give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it. About $400. The furnace is free, you just pay the labor. So if your furnace and air conditioner are ready to be replaced, don't be one of those people that wishes they had called and taken advantage of our free furnace sale. The estimate's free, and we'll make sure you have all of the information you need to decide if our free furnace sale is right for you. If you think you might be interested, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
Join KSL News Radio's Amanda Dixon this Friday from 3 to 5 at the Salt Lake NPS store at 1600 Empire Road, npsstore.com.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Email from school about the incident today.
Scary.
Tell me about it. Did you have any idea that was going on?
None. I mean, you saw Derek at the game last night, too. Did you have a clue?
No, but you know, teachers like me, parents, we don't always know as much as you guys do. Kids hear first about what's going on with other kids.
Half the time, it's rumors.
It can be hard to tell sometimes, but if you're ever concerned about a friend who's having trouble with alcohol, prescription drugs, bullying, violence, anything, you need to tell an adult. Mom or me, a teacher, coach, school counselor, someone you know and trust.
Dad, no kid is gonna tell an adult about that kind of stuff.
I get it, but if we don't know, we can't help. Speaking up about a problem, that's what helping a friend is all about.
For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other, so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio, so we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
Well, what other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at fisherinvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed. Learn how at www.ready.gov. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Ad Council.
And expanded Inside Sources.
So Harvard University is considering capping the number of A's they can give out per course. We want to know what you think about it. Taking your live calls right now, 801-575-TALK. Supporters think it was a good idea because it makes grade mean something and you don't have so much grade inflation, but students think it's unfair. Do you think this motivates students, or do you think it adds more stress and pressure?
So we do have a couple of callers on the line. We're going to start with Tyler from Layton. Tyler, thanks for joining our show today.
Oh, of course, not a problem.
What's your take?
Well, I am a high school senior, actually, and one of the things that I think about quite often is having good grades isn't a problem by any means. I mean, I have many friends who are perfect straight A students, and they're not lacking in any intelligence by any means. One of the things that I notice a lot, though, is that there are areas of intelligence that aren't really measured by grades. And as someone who used to be a straight A student and is not a straight A student anymore, I am opposed to this cap, but not for the normal reasons. I think that we should start colleges, Harvard, other colleges alike should start looking at different tests to measure different measures of intelligence. Because the traditional ways just don't seem to be getting everyone's broader intelligence.
Yeah.
Thanks
Interesting.
for that.
Good point. And from a student. Well, we also have Steve from Orem. He said he's sort of against this, but he has a story about what happened to him. Steve, thanks for joining us, and tell us your story.
Okay. As a teacher myself, when I was a student, I had a professor that said, now I'm going to tell you how to get an A, B, C, and if you do everything that I tell you to do, then that'll work. But the problem is, those people that were really smart and had photographic memories and could pass tests but not necessarily understand what's being taught, they dropped out because one of the stipulations, you had to attend the class on time every day. And I was one of those that I don't take tests, multiple choice, those types of tests very well, but I do good in an oral examination. And so that's sort of what I did with my classes. I told them how they could get an A, and if they had any problem, I'd give them an oral examination, because some people just don't take they're not good test takers, but they actually can explain it, which is more important than anything else.
All right.
Yep.
Thanks for that,
I agree
Steve.
with that, by the way.
Look, Greg, we have so many texters weighing in. It's really interesting. I would say most people are against it. There's a couple that are for it. But let me just share a couple of the texts. The first day of class, the teacher would announce that no one would get an A. I was older than the traditional students. I stood up and said, that's good to know. I'm going to find a teacher capable of teaching me well enough so I can receive an A. And when I successfully complete the requirements, I walked out and dropped the class.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely, though, right? I mean, that is like, I hope we've gotten past the days of people doing that, but unfortunately, I think it does still happen. Here's another one. Grades, not Greg. Grades should be based on knowledge of the subject. Not every student's the same. Growing up with ADHD, this texter says, I always felt inadequate because I was taught the same as everyone. Passed the exams, but I struggled with the coursework. Being graded on a curve doesn't help. Struggling students grow. Somebody else says it's statistically misleading because it doesn't reflect individual effort. And in general, somebody says they think there needs to be an update to the grading system. There needs to be more tiers and more divisions. Anyway, that you can have different separations here. And then we have a texter who says, I'm grateful the Lord it doesn't grade on a curve.
That's genius. I can understand both arguments. I personally, I'm against the sort of the capping the number of A's and grading on a curve. I also think, though, that it dilutes the quality of an A if everybody gets an A. And so you've got to have some boundaries in place. But I think just arbitrary 20% gets an A and 20% gets a D, and you kind of divide up the rest or whatever.
Again,
doesn't make sense either.
I don't think it's fair. And maybe that goes to a discussion of saying maybe you need to level up your coursework. But when you're teaching freshmen just out of high school, that's something really different in my mind than teaching graduate students, right? I have higher expectations for graduate students at that point. But my high school students, even my own kids, as they went into college, they needed some significant help. And I'm really grateful for teachers who took the time to say to them, look, you need to redo this. Instead of saying, this is such a piece of junk, you get an F. They took the time to go back to them, like submitting papers, et cetera, and saying, you need to work on this, and here's where you can find resources, and you can come to my office, et cetera. So we'll just remind our listeners, we're taking your live calls right now. It's 801-575-TALK. Is capping the amount of A's given in a class fair? Is this motivating, or does it bring more stress?
And the reason we're talking about this is because Harvard University is considering changing their policy after a report was released in the fall that found about 60% of grades given by teachers at that university were A's, whereas in 2005 and 6, in other words, 20 years ago, that number was 25% were getting A's. Now it's 60%. So, the grade inflation has occurred at Harvard.
So we have, well, maybe, or maybe they just have, they've been so restrictive in who they allow in that those kids are doing A work, right? Because that they got into Harvard. I mean, let's be honest. So we have a texter. They said this, even C's get degrees. And I will tell you that my friends told me that, and they kept telling me that when I was in grad school. So I did have straight A's in my master's program, but when I started my PhD program, math is hard for me, and I got a B in my statistics class, and they just reminded me B's get degrees. And actually, I had some relief that I didn't feel any pressure on myself to get straight A's in my PhD classes because I had already had a B. But I got that degree, and like you already mentioned, nobody cares now.
Right. They used to have a joke at the law school, and it was completely untrue, that the A students would become law professors, the B students would become judges, and the C students would become rich lawyers. And I think they just did that to make you feel better, but it wasn't necessarily true. I think that our better students in my class did become judges and professors, and deservedly so.
Here's another good point from one of our texters about hiring decisions. So this texter says that their brother-in-law graduated from the University of Chicago Law School, and he told this texter that the law firm he was a partner with only hired from top-tier schools. So an average grade point average from Harvard would give their students more opportunity than an A student from many schools. And then they said, by the way, my brother-in-law graduated top of his class.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was about to think the same thing and ask the same thing. Would you look at a C+ student from Harvard different than you would an A- student from Utah or I don't know.
I think if you do the work, you should get the grade.
Sure.
We have somebody also who said grades, or especially A's, are handed out like candy at Halloween, and everybody gets one with minimal effort. Grading should be based on mastery of the subject, not the effort made in mastering that subject. We have a couple generations of kids that believe effort is what matters rather than mastery. I think that's an interesting point of discussion. And I'm thinking we've already had a couple of callers and texters point out that people take tests differently and they learn differently. I really excel at written exams. Multiple choice, they're fine for me. There's a system to being able to take those exams. But if I could write my way through it, like if I could do a final exam and have a choice, I would pick a written test every time. But I know a lot of people who'd be like, absolutely not. That would be like a nightmare for me, right?
Yeah. As a teacher, Holly, what do you think about having more classes be pass-fail? Do you think that makes sense? Or do you think the grades are important?
I don't know how that plays into a broader conversation about being hired and whether you have mastery or not.
Right.
But I do think there needs to be a realization about how are we measuring this? How are we doing these grades? And is it 100% slanted towards one style of learning or one ability to test really well? I think people nowadays are trying to make sure that they're reaching students in a lot of different ways. So I'm a fan of saying, if you earn the A, and here are the things you need to do to earn it. If you earn the A, then you get the A.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to break down our texters in terms of what they are, if they're students, if they're professors or former teachers. What a teacher's take on that would be. Maybe we could continue, if one of people continue sending us text during the show, we may follow up with those. But in the meantime, the clock is ticking, and a haunting message by President Trump saying that the whole civilization will die tonight. At 8 o'clock Eastern time, 6 o'clock our time, he's claiming either Iran surrenders and opens the Strait of Hormuz, or all hell's going to break loose. We'll talk about that after this.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio,
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top story this hour, a former Ogden police chief is defending his decision to speak at a former officer's sentencing after the current police chief very publicly called him out. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
Randy Watt spoke in defense of Colton Johnson at his sentencing hearing, saying child pornography had been at Johnson's house because of bad police policy, and that as a former police chief, he bore some responsibility for that. The current Ogden Police Chief Jake Suby said Watt was not asked to speak on behalf of the Ogden Police Department, and any suggestion that Johnson was permitted to store materials in his home is false. Watt tells KSL he had wanted to tell his side of the story. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
A unique fitness challenge kicked off at Snowbird yesterday. KSL News Radio's Reagan Edelman explains.
7 marathons, 7 disciplines, and 7 days in the name of charity. That's what Work Week is.
What makes it even more special is that every blister, every cramp, every mile isn't just for bragging rights, it's for raising awareness for causes that truly matter.
Workweek founder Ricky Bowery in a post on Instagram there. Yesterday, participants skied a marathon at Snowbird, and today they'll be road biking 100 miles through Salt Lake. Next, there's kayaking in Arches, then mountain biking at Canyonlands, paddleboarding in Moab, hiking in Bryce Canyon, and finally, they'll close day 7 with a marathon run at Zion National Park. This year is their second ever challenge, and proceeds will be distributed to charities centered around body and mind. St. James Place will match all donations. Reagan Edelman, KSL News Radio.
Your money at this moment, it's a little red across the board. The Dow Jones is currently down 222 points. That's 0.5%. The S&P 500 is down 26 points, and the NASDAQ is down 130 points. Coming up, the rain's a-comin'. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Is your financial advisor managing your risk or just a spreadsheet? Hi, I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. Many financial advisors rely on target date funds, which are one-size-fits-all portfolios that don't know your name, your family, or your goals. And that passive management can leave you dangerously exposed. At Trajan, we look at the whole picture, not just the stocks everyone else buys, but the private market opportunities most advisors ignore. And as fiduciaries, we build a strategy around you, coordinating your investments, tax strategy, and estate into one cohesive plan. Your financial life deserves more than just a generic portfolio. Real planning isn't a stack of statements. It's the confidence of knowing where your income will come from for the next 30 years. Good enough isn't good enough for your family. It's time for a change. Schedule your complimentary consultation today.
Call Trajan today at 801-207-9900. That's 801-207-9900.
Advisory services through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Private equity investments require accreditation. Other services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures at TrajanWealth.com.
Imagine a world where you can leave the house and take your home Wi-Fi speeds with you. Thanks to Xfinity Mobile, it's not just a fantasy. Just picture it. You're at your kid's soccer practice, streaming the other game in 4K. Just like that. In the airport, download a cozy family comedy in a snap with Wi-Fi Power Boost. What if the places you had to be felt more like everywhere you wanted to be? That's the magic of Xfinity Mobile. Reliable Wi-Fi and 5G when you need it. Xfinity. Imagine that. Cut your mobile bill in half with 2 lines of unlimited. Visit xfinitymobile.com to learn more. Restrictions apply. Xfinity Internet required. Savings based on promotional rate for 2 lines of Xfinity Mobile Unlimited versus regular rates for 2 lines of T-Mobile Experience, More, Verizon Unlimited Plus, and AT&T Starter as of 2/10/26. Taxes, fees, extra after promo. Regular rates apply. Xfinity. Imagine that.
Some of the most meaningful jewelry is the jewelry we never wear. It sits tucked away in a drawer. A ring from a grandmother. A pendant from years gone by. Pieces filled with stories, but not part of your everyday life. Duke's Jewelers believes those pieces deserve more. For over 75 years, Duke's Jewelers has helped families reimagine heirloom jewelry, transforming what once was into something you'll love wearing today and pass down tomorrow. Whether it's resetting a stone, redesigning a ring, or creating something entirely new, Duke's Jewelers will guide you through every step, right there in the store. And if you have jewelry that no longer fits your story, Duke's Jewelers also buys gold, offering a simple, transparent way to turn it into something meaningful again. Bring in what you have and create something you'll never want to take off. Duke's Jewelers on Main Street in Springville, where your story continues.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Build smart, save big. UCCU, love where you bank. Here's Ricky Meese.
We have a motorcycle officer holding traffic back in 2 center lanes of travel on northbound I-15 prior to 1300 South. It's a disabled vehicle being reported there, and he's going to try to get them moved off the roadway and over to the left shoulder. You got to use some caution here while we have a pedestrian on the freeway and a broken down vehicle trying to limp its way over to the side of the road, but do expect delays. While you're planning your day, plan for comfort too with the Good Feet store. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
This week, we can expect temperatures to float in the mid to low 70s with lows in the high 40s and low 50s. Right now, though, it's 66 and mostly sunny downtown. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
I found it a little shocking to see that the President of the United States said this morning on social media that a whole civilization would die tonight. And people have been asking him, does he really mean that? And he says, yeah, 8 o'clock tonight, Eastern time.
You know what today is?
It's not April Fool's Day.
It's Taco Tuesday.
Oh, gosh.
Trump always chickens out. I mean, I appreciate the threats, and I know that he's hoping that Iran blinks before we do, but he will blink. There's no way he's going to wipe out an entire civilization.
I don't know. He seems pretty intent on this. But to give us a better perspective, we have News Nation's White House correspondent Libby Dean on the line with us. Thanks for joining us, Libby.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Can you just tell us, is this something that, first of all, is the president just doing this as a way to get Iran to the table?
Look, it's not the first time the president has threatened to hit infrastructure inside of Iran, specifically energy sites. Remember that threat of desalinization plants as well. He's made those threats before, but why this one stands out is because there's such an explicit deadline from the president of 8 p.m. tonight, about 7 hours away. A lot of anticipation for that deadline, not only here at the White House, but really around the world to see what the president does. But you were speaking about if this threat should be taken seriously. I mean, the president issued it from the podium in the press briefing room yesterday and just did a phone interview today where he said he's going to move forward on it. So if he doesn't, that says a lot about where things go from here.
Libby, it does seem as though even today that things are ramping up, especially we're seeing on Karg Island, the island that's closest to the Strait of Hormuz, that there does seem to be a lot of activity going on there with bombing and shelling, maybe a precursor to what's going on. Do you think that there's a chance that that's sort of a message?
The vice president was actually asked about that and was speaking about if this is a change in strategy given the strike on Karg Island happened just hours before President Trump's deadline. And he said no, that it isn't a change in strategy. It's just a move that they took. But I mean, it is noteworthy that it happened the morning of this deadline after a Pentagon briefing was canceled. But I will note that while any strike is important, this one is almost essentially being called a restrike. They re-hit military targets on Karg Island. They didn't hit the oil infrastructure. When they hit the oil infrastructure, that is going to be the major escalation. This seems to be a restrike of military targets on Karg Island that were already hit previously.
So, Libby, what has been the response there in Washington to the president's doubling down on Iran?
I'm actually really glad you asked that because we're getting a lot of reaction within the last 20 minutes even. There's this group of House Democratic leadership who are saying that the House should come back from recess to vote on the war. They're calling the president unhinged. Aside from that statement, it was a little more tame, actually, than some things we're hearing from House Democrats who are saying that the White House and that they should invoke the 25th Amendment. And they want to see President Trump removed from office. I just got a response from the White House on that. They're calling that pathetic, saying that Democrats have wanted to remove President Trump from office since he was sworn in.
Yeah, and of course the 25th Amendment deals with the succession of the president in ways that he or she can be removed from office by choice or by force. That doesn't seem as though something that, Libby, that is going to get a lot of traction. Just looking at what's required to get that done, either the vice president and the majority of the cabinet vote, or at least 2/3 of both houses, I think, those seem to be fairly unlikely to occur, don't you think?
I agree with you on that. I think it would be unlikely, but it is Democrats' way of pushing back here, considering they don't have power in the House, the Senate, or what the White House. This is their way of trying to gain attention. I will say it isn't just Democrats. We did hear from now ousted Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who called for this as well, who, of course, used to be a very close Trump ally. So I'm not sure it has a weight to it, but it is noteworthy given the back and forth that we've seen. And we even have seen some Republican lawmakers who have come out criticizing some of what President Trump has done here, not explicitly these recent posts where he says, curse words, but was coming out against him hitting civilian infrastructure, given that could in turn hurt the Iranian people. Now, when the president is asked about that, what he says is the Iranian people would be willing to suffer strikes on civilian infrastructure to see the change that needs to happen that he believes in that country of Iran.
So, Libby, and we are speaking with News Nation's White House correspondent, Libby Dean. Libby, is there any rumor of a deal in the next 7 hours?
Not that I have heard of. And the vice president was asked about this today. I mean, he even said from the podium he was texting back and forth with Steve Witkoff. Steve Witkoff was in the press briefing room yesterday. This is a really tight timeline for Iran to strike a deal, to be frank. And we don't really know the framework of that deal and what any agreement would kind of look like. And I will mention, just because I think this is interesting for your listeners, what the president is going to be up to. An hour before that deadline expires, he's going to be having dinner with the U.S. ambassador to India. That's, of course, Sergio Gore. And right now we know he's in the West Wing and, of course, has posted that threat this morning on Truth Social and has called into the vice president's remarks in Budapest. But, I mean, this clock is really ticking here. And if the president doesn't take action, it really changes the course of the war in Iran.
We're speaking this morning with News Nation's White House correspondent Libby Dean. And Libby, what are we hearing from Iran, if anything, in response to this deadline, which is now just, 7 or 8 hours
Yeah, a little
away?
less than 7 hours.
I believe they rejected the ceasefire deal, but President Trump said that wasn't on the table in the first place. It's hard to trust anything coming out of Iran. Of course, they have said previously that these negotiations weren't even happening in the first place. So I think anything that comes from them needs to be taken with a grain of salt, given we don't even know who the U.S. is negotiating with in Iran at this point.
Libby, probably one final question. We understand that Iran is particularly brutal. The regime is particularly brutal with its own people. The President of the United States has said that Iranians want to be liberated from the regime. The regime is saying we have 14 million Iranians willing to die for the country. Where do you see the people of Iran?
I mean, that's really at the heart of this, which is so interesting. I feel like the president has not focused on that as much in recent days about what his initial argument was, that the Iranian people would rise up if the U.S. was able to move forward with demolishing the regime. But you look at the regime, and Khamenei's son is the one in power. Regardless, we know that the White House and the president wants the Iranian people to rise up, be able to rise up against the regime. But when he's threatening what he threatened today in this Truth Social post, it was quite sobering from the president, where he's saying a whole civilization will die tonight. I think Iranians in that country look at that and say, okay, so we're still waiting for any kind of potential avenue for us to rise up right now. And the president, I will add, yesterday when he was asked about this, was saying, he claimed that the Iranian people, when the bombs stop going or dropping near them, they ask why not and why don't they keep bombing. That's the president's argument on this. I mean, I think right now that's not really necessarily in the cards given the president's Truth Social post this morning.
All right. Thank you so much. That was News Nation's White House correspondent Libby Dean. When we come back, we're going to talk about the U.S. Forest Service relocating their headquarters to Utah. But we also know that there are multiple research stations that are being shut down. This is part of the U.S. Department of Agriculture's plan to restructure. Stay with us as we talk about the big picture impact next.
This is the story of the one. As a procurement manager for a hospital system, she keeps every facility in her network stocked and ready. That's why she counts on Grainger to be her single source for thousands of products, from disinfectants to lighting, air filters, and more. And with fast, dependable delivery, Grainger helps her keep every facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Do you have an IRA or 401k? It's natural to think of this as being your money, right? But remember, you still have to pay taxes when you withdraw this money in retirement. And you could be paying a lot more in taxes on these accounts than you know. A lot more. Learn the strategies that can help you reduce or eliminate your taxes in retirement. Don't miss a special edition of Retirement Solutions Radio this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock. Right here on KSL News Radio 102.7.
Andy, I like that shirt. Is that a new shirt?
It is. It's from Ann Collar, and it's really rare to find a shirt that looks good and is super comfortable. And this is a fabric unlike anything I've ever felt.
I got one for my husband and my sons, and they watching my 19-year-old put on the Ann Collar shirt and sort of check himself out in the mirror. I thought, wow, he's really digging that. And I can understand why, because it's not just comfortable, it's stain repellent, which I needed.
Oh, my goodness.
Because, I mean, he attracts spaghetti sauce to shirts like you would not believe. And with these Ann Collar shirts, I can get it out.
Amanda, I have to wear a special bib when I eat spaghetti with a white shirt on. But with Ann Collar shirts, it takes those little tiny nicks and stains, and they don't stick to you. Yeah, you don't have to dump a bucket of stuff on you, but it would repel that too.
You've got to try one. So whether it's the traditional white shirt or any of the patterns they have, it's Ann Collar, and they're made right here in Utah.
If you've never tried Ann Collar before, we have got permission to give you 15% off at AnnCollar.com and go get your first. Use the code KSL15.
That's Ann Collar, AND Collar.com. Every day here in Utah, people turn to KSL News Radio for one simple reason: trust. Trust for our reporters, hosts, our coverage, and trust in the businesses heard right here. I've met so many of our listeners over the years, and they'll tell you KSL is part of their daily routine, in the car, at work, at home. And when they hear your business here, it carries the weight of that trust. It isn't just another ad. It's a recommendation coming from a reliable source. When you advertise on KSL News Radio, you reach a loyal, highly engaged audience who listens intentionally. They show up for breaking news, accurate information, and meaningful conversations. And because of that connection, they respond. And when you pair our on-air credibility with digital tools like display advertising, social media, streaming audio, search, geo-targeting, and retargeting, you get a full funnel strategy that works and reaches the right people at the right time. Get marketing that truly moves the needle. Partner with the voice Utah trusts. KSL. Learn more at kslnewsradio.com/advertise.
I'm Congressman Mike Kennedy. For years, Utah families have paid too much for health care, groceries, and everyday essentials. I'm fighting for health care reform that puts patients first and lowers costs. I'm also working to cut waste, fraud, and abuse in Washington because your tax dollars should be spent wisely. Fiscal responsibility means lower costs and a government that works for you. I'm Mike Kennedy, and I'll keep fighting for Utah families. Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
Any Hour Services can help unclog any drain in your house, whether you have a backup, a clog, or a slow drain you want fixed. Call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
It's what we were taught, trained, and told to do.
It could be for anything. Helping a friend move.
Listening to a fellow veteran for hours, at any hour of the day.
Or just simply making time for people. A neighbor, a loved one, or even a stranger.
We're often the first to help others. There's no question about it.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
Perhaps it's time to do for yourself what you would do for others.
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
Well, we're hearing that 3 Forest Service research stations here in Utah are being closed as a part of the United States Department of Agriculture's plans to restructure the Forest Service. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
The USDA says they'll be closing 57 out of nearly 80 research stations across the country. That will include locations in Logan, Ogden, and Cedar City. They say the closures will happen in stages, but the announcement comes at the end of a record dry winter and at the start of wildfire season. Research stations look into scientific approaches to manage the nation's 155 national forests and 20 national grasslands. The nonprofit Public Employees for Environmental Responsibility says these closures happened without an inventory of scientific research needs and could increase wildfire risk. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
We are not in a position in this country to increase wildfire risk. We had a record hot winter, a record low
and dry, hot and dry.
And dry winter. We're going to have wildfires this year like we've never had before. Closing research stations, that seems like a risky maneuver.
The other part of that announcement, though, is that the U.S. Forest Service headquarters is going to move out of the nation's capital to Salt Lake City, which I think a lot of people were really happy about.
Yeah, Utah State Forester Jamie Barnes told KSL News Radio when this news first broke on the move, they were really excited about it.
It's putting it where we belong. It's putting, the chief here in Utah where we can really get things done here on the landscape. As you know, we entered into a cooperative management agreement with the Forest Service just here a couple months ago where we talked about cooperative federalism and how we start co-managing lands together. And this is a step in the right direction to start doing those type of things.
I don't know how Forest Service lands are divided up nationwide, but you've got to assume that Utah certainly has its share. And this would be a good place for the headquarters to be.
I think it's heavier in the West, which is why it's moving out here. In fact, I do have an answer for you. It's 87% of Forest Service land is in the West.
Yeah. So makes a lot of sense that we'd move the headquarters out here as well.
So it's the beginning of April. The wildfires are already ahead of schedule in the West. And we've had over 1.6 million acres of land burned across the country, which is more than double the previous 10-year average to this point, right? So we know that wildfire activity in general has gone up, and now it's starting sooner in the year as well.
You know, not surprisingly, Utah Governor Cox praised the move on X, saying that it will bring hundreds of jobs to Utah. I mean, that's got to be a large facility, a large number of people that will be working in the state of Utah, which is good. I think that's a positive for the state. Closing the research stations doesn't make sense, but bringing the office here certainly does.
Yeah, and I think it's part of an interesting discussion about management, right? So forest management. I know one of the things that Senator John Curtis has done is talk about wildfire and wildland management, because it's so different out here in many ways than it is back east, and that has to do with public lands, the number of public lands, et cetera. But sometimes I think when you're so far geographically removed from what's happening in the western part of the United States, it makes it difficult to make informed decisions. And I think it is a really compelling argument to say we're going to have our headquarters be right out in the middle of the West that has all of this public land and potential for wildfire.
And speaking of wildfires, a study by the Department of Agriculture showed that on April 4th, just last week, that 1.6 million acres of land have burned across the country, more than double, actually 231% of the previous 10-year average. Wildfire activity in particular is 168% above average. And we're just getting started.
Yeah.
And we're already double what we should be for this time of year for wildfires.
Right. So one of the things to know about these research facilities, there's 57 of 77 total that are going to be closed. So some in Utah, but not all in Utah, of course. But many of those research facilities are at universities where the Forest Service has access to laboratories and computers, or at experimental forests where scientists are monitoring the effects of environmental changes over long periods of time. And they're looking at logging, and they're looking at endangered plant and animal species, how forests grow back after devastating fires, etc.
And if you look at the research stations that are being closed right here in Utah, they include Logan, Ogden, and Cedar City. What's important about those three cities? They all have universities that probably do studies, forest studies. So, Utah State, Weber State, and SUU, all in those areas, probably going to affect what a lot of college students really enjoy working in those opportunities.
I think that you may still have students who research it. It just may not be under the auspices of the U.S. Forest Service. Sure. I don't know that for sure. But we also know the Forest Service oversees 193 million acres of forests and grasslands in 43 states and territories. But as we mentioned, 87% of it is here in the West.
Yeah, and Forest Service land is different than national parks and national monuments because it is open to things like grazing. It is open to things like more recreation and things like that. It's public land in the more public sense than you have with some of our more pristine public land where we don't allow certain things. So, I mean, we've got a place next to Fish Lake National Forest down in Torrey, and it's just, and it's also next to Capitol Reef National Monument. The way that the two are treated is different, but the forest, that's one of the biggest, most beautiful forests in the country, probably, that Fish Lake area.
Well, not that you're biased or anything.
right. I love it.
Look, I just think it's interesting, and I think it's really interesting that they're going to move the headquarters here, and I think that will be a great move for Utah. I think in some ways it's another example of Utah punching above its weight when it comes to federal issues, because this management, again, I'm just going to repeat things I've heard multiple politicians from the West express, is that the people in the East do not understand how different it is out here in the West, right? There are states back east that don't have any public land. And yet we have, 67% in Utah of our land is public land. So again, it's not exactly the same, but it's still similar, I think, that the arguments are, and I think they make sense. We should have a headquarters out where people are actually really impacted by these types of decisions.
Yeah, so, I mean, good news, bad news for Utah. Closing those is bad news. Bringing the Forest Service here in Utah, I think, makes a lot of sense. I mean, I can also understand the governor saying this is a great overall for Utah because of the bringing jobs here. I just think I don't know, the timing for this with the wildfire season starting makes me very concerned about closing these stations and not having the people out there to monitor what's going on.
In fairness, there's no exact date for when this implementation will occur, and there's also no plan to change forest management for this wildfire season. So we are anticipating that it's going to be particularly bad. Yesterday on our show, I think we said that Utah 60% is now in extreme drought. And after the heat wave that we had, what was it, just last week, it popped from 7% to 60%.
To 60%, yeah. Even after all that rain we got, the first week of April, it went crazy because it wasn't snow. It didn't stay in the mountains. Some of it did, but it's largely melted off. But what happened was also this. If you recall, a week ago, we were having record high temperatures.
I know.
And in Arizona, they had a March temperature that would have been the April record
high.
It was
that's
that
right.
bad.
That's right. So just in Utah so far, we've had 85 wildfires, 485 acres of Utah land. The majority have been caused by people. And, you had that big wildfire last year that was down by your place in Torrey.
Yeah, we've been together long enough to go through one fire season and coming up on another one here. Yeah, I don't remember what it was called, but it was over in the Bicknell area and just east of that. It was really a bad fire that just went forever and ever. We had it in our air down there almost all summer.
Yeah, I'm sure you could taste it, right, with the wildfires. So again, good news. I think that the headquarters will be relocated here. I'm a little concerned about closing down the scientific research stations, but at least for this year, I think things will hold as far as the planning and preparation for the upcoming fire season. Okay, I'm going to shift again.
This is good news.
It is. So my family has, I have a daughter and a daughter-in-law who have prosthetic legs. I was really excited to see that there were BYU students working to create a 3D printed prosthetic leg. I think it could be a huge game changer. Stay with us over the break. We'll talk about it.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top national story this hour. Brought to you by ABC News. President Trump insists his 8 p.m. Eastern Time deadline for Iran to make a deal or face more U.S. military action is still on. The president has threatened striking bridges, power plants, and other pieces of civilian infrastructure, something experts say could constitute a war crime.
They're having propaganda out there right now saying not only will we kill you, we're going to kill your entire lineage of your entire family if you step out of line. And they've already demonstrated that they'll do that. I mean, how much worse can it get for these poor people? So, short-term pain, long-term gain, I guess, and that's why I look at it.
ABC News contributor and former Republican Congressman John Katko says the Iranians may not welcome war into their country, but they've also been brutalized by their government for generations. Other national stories KSL is following. Police in Turkey are investigating a gunfight between officers and 3 people near the Israeli consulate in Istanbul. One of the attackers was killed. 2 others were injured. ABC's Tom Sufi Burridge has more.
We've had a statement from the U.S. ambassador to Turkey, Tom Barak, condemning the attack and also saying that it's an attack on the principles that bind nations together, being a diplomatic building, and praising the Turkish authorities for their swift response. And it comes at the height of the Iran war, of course, and after a number of attacks across Europe on Jewish and Israeli and American institutions.
Israel says the consulate is not currently staffed. Your money at this moment, the markets are red across the board. The Dow Jones right now is down 244 points, the S&P 500 down 30, and the NASDAQ down 145. Coming up, a temperate week in the chamber. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait. And don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell, definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly, and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me, and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit info kit. 800-290-7100. That's 800-290-7100.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-292-4541 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-292-4541. That's 800-292-4541. What do you have to lose? Call 800-292-4541. Again, 800-292-4541.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at UCCU.com. Here's Ricky Meese.
The disabled vehicle that we had blocking a right lane northbound I-15 in Davis County near Shepherd Lane in Farmington, that has been just moved out of the way. However, we have a crash on the east side of the valley. This is going to be on I-215's East Belt near 3900 South. They are over to the right shoulder. Just use a little bit of caution. Then in Murray, a crash with injuries northbound State Street, about 6800 South, blocking 2 left lanes. Whether you park it, stripe it, or pave it, GoPave Utah has your blacktop covered at GoPaveUtah.com. That's GoPaveUtah.com. Call or visit GoPaveUtah.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Temperatures are going to float in the mid to low 70s with a light change of rain from Thursday till Saturday, then a high chance of rain on Sunday and Monday. But right now it's about 66 degrees and mostly sunny downtown. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
I think to understand the significance of what we're about to talk about, which the BYU students getting closer to creating a 3D printed prosthetic leg for people that can't afford typical prosthetics, I would like you to share, Holly, your own experience and your family's experience with prosthetics.
So our family adopted a daughter a number of years ago who was missing a leg. She was born without a leg, and we ended up doing prosthetics for her through Shriners Hospital. They're amazingly expensive for what they are, right? They're this extra limb, and then I have a daughter-in-law that in 2020 was hit by a truck and lost her leg. And so she has a prosthetic leg as well. And her prosthetic leg is, I'm not kidding you, $70,000.
Oh, you're kidding.
Not kidding. It's just incredibly expensive, and it's got a fancy knee. I mean, there's things that we take for granted.
So it's above the knee.
Hers is above the knee. But we take for granted, right, things that we can do. Like if you have a prosthetic leg that's above the knee, you have to kick your leg in a way to get the prosthetic to go forward and kind of lock almost, and then take a step. So this idea that we can 3D print prosthetics, I think, is brilliant.
Oh yeah, I think so too. And BYU students are getting closer to doing that. Let's just learn a little bit more from KSL News Radio's Britt Johnson.
The 2 Foot Prosthetics Club presented their best designs, and the most viable option was chosen as the winner. Now they're working towards the next steps.
We're just trying to make a functional design that in about a year or so from now will be a viable option for people who currently can't afford a prosthetic leg.
Ethan Graham is a member of the club and says this will be a game changer for people in need of prosthetics. They may soon be able to enter their measurements into a program and print their own artificial leg. This will benefit people in developing countries, especially children, because they often need a new size as they grow, and now they can print a new one when they need it. Britt Johnson, KSL News Radio.
I just think it's really awesome, right? So they have done designs. In fact, I'm looking at their website. It's 2footprosthetics.org. But they started more than a decade ago, 2012 actually. And their original low-cost prosthetic was done with a PVC pipe. And then it works.
It works,
I'm
right.
telling you. Right? They used a saw, a scissors, and then something hot to kind of melt things together. So they had a polypropylene socket. Now they're going to the 3D printing, as we just heard, which I think it makes so much sense. I think 3D printers have come such a long way. Like I've seen the news stories about people 3D printing a home because you can use concrete, right? But this is 3D printing with plastic, 3D printing a prosthetic leg. It's below the knee, which is still amazing and very cool.
Yeah, I'm looking at their website also. It says our club at Brigham Young University continues to empower students to make a difference. In the BYU club, students grow their knowledge of prosthetic limbs and the human body and apply knowledge to better the lives of amputees by increasing access to prosthetics at a lower cost. I mean, how amazing is that?
Well,
and
lower cost meaning like $25.
Right, yes.
Instead of $70,000.
And it's a club. They say
Yeah,
all
that's right.
BYU students, regardless of major, are invited to join 2FT Prosthetics. Meets weekly on Monday evenings from 5 to 6 in room 100, of course, in the engineering building, which you might expect on the BYU campus. I mean, good for them, great for them. They've got an engineering team, they've got a research team, they've got a travel team, which I guess sort of markets it. But it's something that the university's doing that if this works, if these are successful, it could be a game changer for a lot of people.
Well, we know that they work. It's just how scalable is it, right? So they say they've served 585 amputees so far, and I'm looking at their upcoming projects this year. They're going to Fiji, to the Dominican Republic, to the Philippines, to Kenya, and to the back to the Philippines in a different location. So what I've seen as I've traveled internationally is people who are missing limbs, they can learn to use crutches, right, to get around. They can scoot on the ground. Sometimes they use a wheelchair, but I am telling you, there are places where using a wheelchair is near impossible because the roads are not paved. There's no accessibility stuff, right? It is incredibly difficult. In fact, we went to Ethiopia for one of our son's weddings in the fall, and there was unfortunately no way that we could take our son who is in a wheelchair because it is so wheelchair unfriendly that we would have been totally stuck.
Well, I don't know what it was 20, 25 years ago when the Americans with Disability Act came into play, and we retrofitted buildings all over the state, and any new building has to have a wheelchair ramp, and even then it can be difficult for people in a wheelchair because sometimes there's literally 180-degree turn you have to make.
Sometimes it's so difficult, and if moms with kids in strollers, right, they understand sometimes how difficult it is to get around. So when you talk about a game changer that you can do an artificial limb that's 3D printed, I think it's really incredible. And And I just have to give a shout out. The Ballard Center, this is not necessarily related, but the Ballard Center for Social Impact at BYU, they do a lot of projects where they work with engineering students. Some of the things that these BYU students have done is they start to ask these questions like, what would it take to make a difference in a country like Kenya that may not have XYZ materials, right? Because you can't just say, okay, well, this works in downtown Provo, and then translate it, right? So they've come up with, I think, some amazing things, including some, if I remember correctly, there was a project a few years back that came up with a newborn isolette to keep babies warm that didn't use electricity because it's unreliable.
Yeah.
And not always available.
I've got a good friend who has a prosthetic leg that attaches at the knee, and I think it pivots at the knee.
Mm-hmm.
But he has he has several, which makes me think he has to upgrade it, get a new iteration every once in a while. And I can only imagine what it costs. So these would seem to make a tremendous amount of sense if you're changing it every 5 or 10 years or updating it.
You do have to upgrade it as kids grow. You have to do it for that. And then I don't have neither one of our family members who uses a prosthetic as an athlete. But if you see some of the Paralympics right from the summer, the running prosthetics that they have very, very different than what you have for a walking prosthetic.
Oh, it was wild. Those
the spring almost.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
Yeah. But we're talking about BYU students who have figured out a way to 3D print in a cost-effective way these prosthetic limbs, and they will be taking basically this show on the road this summer internationally to 5 different locations between June and August.
2-foot prosthetics, a club at BYU.
So shout out from us.
By students, good for them. And I hope that people, as students at the Brigham Young University, will take a look at this and maybe participate in the club. And it would be fun, maybe getting somebody from the club to come join us one day on the show and bring in some of their products and let us see and talk about those.
Yeah, look, they can be life-changing. And there are prosthetics. In fact, some of their pictures, they have done arms as well. So anyway, it can be really, really significant, and I appreciate their work in that arena.
When we come back after the break, it's our last segment, which means fun facts of the day and maybe even a closing argument. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I'm Christian Staples with Arctic Spas. Wellness starts at home. At Arctic Spas, we have what you need for home wellness. Hot tubs provide physical and mental relaxation, improve circulation, and stimulate better sleep, all while giving the perfect time to connect with loved ones. Swim spas and all-weather pools provide at-home, low-impact exercise, a break from gravity, and family fun. Cold tubs provide muscle recovery, reduce soreness, and provide the best mental boost. Saunas help you recover, detox, and improve your cardiovascular health. This can all be done at your home, ready whenever you are, and you can find it all at Arctic Spas. We are here to help you relax, exercise, and recover. We make it easy for you. You can find out more at ArcticSpasUtah.com or stop by one of our 3 stores covering all of Utah in Salt Lake, American Fork, and St. George. Arctic Spa, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com/contests.
I'm here with Monty from Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake, an authorized independent dealer. So, Monty, I wonder if you know someone like this. He's the ultimate DIY guy. Restores classic cars, builds his own deck, and even smokes his own brisket.
Sounds like a talented guy.
He is. But get this, his other weekend hobby is troubleshooting his water softener. He's always down there resetting the timer or fiddling with the circuit board.
See, Doug, that's where I draw the line. Smoking a brisket is a great weekend project.
Yeah.
Fixing an electric water softener is just a chore.
Exactly. He thinks he's saved money by buying the bargain brand, but he's paying for it with his Saturdays.
That's the Kinetico difference. Our systems are premium because they are non-electric and fully automated. No computers to fry, no timers to reset. We install it and you get back to the hobbies you actually enjoy.
If you want soft water, do what I did and leave that to Kinetico. It runs on water power, not willpower. Learn more at softwaterutah.com. That's softwaterutah.com.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. PAX is a Utah-based company that owns and supports nursing and rehabilitation centers across the country. They provide training, leadership, and operational support so healthcare teams can focus on delivering quality care to patients. Vice President of Corporate Communications, Brooks Stevenson, joins us with more.
PAX is redefining post-acute care and senior living as we strive to meet the growing healthcare demand of older adults. What started as 2 skilled nursing facilities in 2013 has grown into 324 facilities in 17 states, and we're proud to be headquartered right here in Salt Lake City, ensuring our locally led, centrally supported business model leads to dignified, empathetic care for aging adults. At PAX, we're also growing the next generation of healthcare leaders. Our training programs pair promising college graduates with mentors in our facilities who help train and shape them for fulfilling careers. In 2024, PAX went public on the New York Stock Exchange and became one of the largest publicly traded companies headquartered in Utah, as well as the second largest skilled nursing provider in the country. Learn more about our mission to revolutionize healthcare at PACS.com.
Through innovation, mentorship, and a commitment to compassionate care, PAX is strengthening communities and supporting families across the country. They also contribute to Utah's growing healthcare leadership, helping ensure the state remains a hub for opportunity and impact. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, do it now. Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
911, tell me exactly what happened. My son and his wife and their 2 children haven't responded.
Susan Powell disappeared on a snowy morning in 2009.
Your wife is missing, Josh.
Yeah, but I've already...
And you want to think about it for a couple of days?
The podcast, Cold, has gone deep on these kinds of stories.
I'd had this overwhelming feeling that he had done something to her already.
Clearly, something happened on that couch because he cleaned it.
Find and follow Cold wherever you get your podcasts.
If you're struggling with your mortgage, there's a free government program that offers expert one-on-one advice about your mortgage options. Call 1-888-995-HOPE or visit makinghomeaffordable.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Treasury, HUD, and the Ad Council.
Inside Sources.
Well, we're at the end of our show, which means fun facts of the day, Greg.
Yes, and those are kind of the fun part of the day for me as well. You always have something interesting. Today is April 7th.
It is, and it's World Health Day. It is also the birthday for Senator Darren Owens, Utah Legislature, and Representative Rona Maunga. So happy birthday to them. And I will just say this. I really like the story that stood out to me as the tearjerker was the Artemis II crew naming a crater after the spouse of Reed, the commander of the ship. It's just Reed Wiseman. It just was so touching because they're asking permission, right, from NASA, and they just can't even get through it. They were so emotional.
They were all choked up. Yeah,
oh my gosh,
it was beautiful to listen to that.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun, and I think they're on the back side of the moon there, the dark side of the moon.
Yep. So okay, so on this date, which is April 7th. If you remember, just a couple of days ago, it seems like we said the first Pony Express left the frontier back in Missouri. Well, on this day in 1860, it first arrived in Utah. So in 1860, the Pony Express made it to Utah.
Didn't we have a Pony Express day a couple days ago here?
When they left. It was to honor the day when the first riders left.
Took a couple days, right.
Yep. It took a couple of days. Okay, so on this day in 1890, you might recognize this name. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas was born. So this was 1890. She was a writer. She was a suffragist. She was women's rights advocate, environmentalist. She championed the culture of the first Americans, and she also created Friends of the Everglades with 1 million acres established in 1978. She lived to be 108 years old.
She, I know that name. There must be something named after her or something.
A high school.
Oh, yes, of course, right, yes.
where kids were killed.
Oh.
It's a high school in
Yes.
Florida where there was a mass shooting, and unfortunately, that's
Right.
how most people know her
That's
name.
how
She was an advocate for the Everglades forever, right? I mean, they were so important to her. And now I think, unfortunately, her name is associated with that high school.
Well, I just stepped in it.
No, you totally set it up just right.
Right.
I know her for something. That is, that's
Right.
true. In 1891, Martha Elliott was born, and she became a politician. No, she became a pediatrician who looked at the benefits of cod liver oil and sun baths to prevent rickets. So rickets is a disease that we don't see in the United States really anymore. It's a disease where the bones get really, really soft, and they just don't even maintain their integrity anymore. And I have seen children with rickets, and it is just so sobering and painful, right? I saw a little boy with rickets in a refugee camp. Yeah, a refugee camp in Bangladesh. They were Rohingya refugees coming over from Myanmar. And this little boy, he was probably 2 or 3. In my estimation, he could have been older because they don't grow the same. But this little boy, his legs, he wasn't just bow-legged, but like his legs bent, like they curved, the bones curved. He couldn't even stand upright. So she found that there were ways to prevent that. She also was the only woman to sign the Constitution of the New World Health Organization in 1947.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's a disease I haven't even thought about.
Yeah, it's one of the ones where we don't see it in the U.S. anymore,
feel
but
like
it
we
still
cured it,
exists.
right.
No, we haven't cured it.
Yeah.
Okay, so on this day in 1954, President Eisenhower delivered his Cold War domino theory speech. So I don't know if you learned about that in school ever, but he suggested that the fall of French Indochina to the communists would create a, quote, domino effect in Southeast Asia. And so that's why they had to step in, right? We had to be over there, because if the Russians took over, then this domino effect would happen. I think it's what I taught my students last week in class. This is a slippery slope false argument that if you have one thing happen, then all these other things are going to happen. But anyway, it dominated U.S. thinking for quite a while. Okay, on this day in 2003, so it's been 23 years, U.S. troops captured Baghdad, if you remember that. And in 2022, Ketanji Brown Jackson was confirmed to the U.S. Supreme Court on April 7th. 2022.
I was going to say, she's only been on the court 3 years.
Yeah, that is correct. Okay, and here's my joke for the day. I had my patience tested last week. It came back negative. Okay, what you got for closing
Well, I got to
arguments?
weigh in on something here, because we talk about the Constitution every once in a while, and an amendment we rarely talk about in the Constitution is the 25th Amendment, because we just don't talk about it. But we're talking about it today in a sense that I would have never guessed. The 25th Amendment deals with the succession of the president. What happens if the president dies or becomes incapacitated or is what we call unfit or unable to discharge the powers of his office. And a growing number of people are saying right now, and I'm just the messenger here, that in fact we should consider whether or not the 25th Amendment applies right now. So there's things that happen. Article 4 of the requires this, that if the vice president and a majority of the cabinet submit a written declaration that the president is incapacitated, the 25th Amendment goes into place. Now, that is almost certainly not to occur, because the vice president of the United States right now and the current cabinet are very, very, very dedicated to the president. I don't see that happening. If the president disputes the claim, Congress must decide the issue, requiring 2/3 of both houses to remove the president. So it hasn't happened before, but you indicated to me earlier that there are a growing number of Republicans, prominent people, who are saying, hey, we ought to take a look at this.
Yeah, so I'm going to mention first former Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was a very close ally with the president. She is calling for the 25th Amendment to be invoked. Alex Jones, who is a far right-wing conspiracy theorist, I would say, he has called for it to be invoked. Anthony Scaramucci, he's called for it. I would say Bill Kristol, who is chief of staff to vice president in the George H.W. Bush administration, has called for it. Candace Owens has called for the 25th Amendment to be invoked against President Trump right now. So really, really interesting. And there are a number that are saying, of course, there are a number of Democrats who've lined up, but you've got a lot of Republicans, including ones that I would say they were definitely America First, right? So they were America First, either elected officials or appointed officials or pundits, right, who are saying we've got to do something. This is just not okay.
And I think that what brought a lot of this to a head, among other things, is the post that the president made on Easter Sunday, if I recall. One of
I think it's today's, really. I mean, Easter Sunday was one, and then I think there was one today that really pushed them over the edge.
Oh, yes, today he said a whole civilization will die tonight. Yeah. A whole civilization will die tonight. So, I mean...
Oh, Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
Also.
I thought that there was another big Republican speaker that had been part of that group. But I mean, we didn't get a chance to interview or to follow up with the person we talked to earlier about the Iran situation. We were going to ask him about whether or not what Trump was proposing could potentially be seen as a form of genocide if you're wiping out a whole civilization. Now, I can't imagine that's what he meant, but that's what he said. A whole civilization makes it seem like just the obliteration of the country of Iran.
And he did expound on that, and he said they will not be able to rebuild for at least 100 years.
Yeah, I mean, cooler heads have to prevail here, and it just got me nervous, and it got me thinking about the 25th Amendment. It has about the same chance of exceeding as Trump does in following through with his threats. I mean, I don't think either one's going to occur. But why we're even having this conversation is astounding to me in this country at this time, that we're talking about a war getting to the point where we're obliterating an entire populace, and people who are stalwarts in a particular party are asking that the 25th Amendment be imposed for the leader of their party. I mean, who would have thought we would be at this point? And still, I mean, people are rallying around him and following him, and will follow him no matter what he says or no matter what he does. I'm not saying the 25th Amendment should be used. That's not my purpose. I'm just saying that it's something that we're talking about right now, which is astounding to me.
It is extraordinary.
Yeah. Well, Midday with Maria Shilaos will have more on the countdown to President Trump's deadline for Iran to strike a deal. That's about 6 hours away now. Stay with us right here, because she won't be 6 hours away. She's about 5 minutes away on KSL News Radio for the latest developments on that. And we'll be back tomorrow.